think about sitting at a table at a diner and take a little salt and just, well, no, that's superstitious. My mom would kill me for that one. Take a little pepper, take a little pepper and put it on the table and then sneeze. That's kind of a classic way to look at a microburst. The powerful thunderstorm sneezes or pushes a tremendous burst of air toward the ground, hits the ground, it can't go through, so it hits the ground and splays out at 60, 70, 80 miles per hour. Sometimes it gets confused with tornado damage. Weather Service went up, looked at Bemidji and said, oh no, this is microburst damage. And we'll end up with some of that here, well off to the south and to the southeast once these storms continue to go.
And you notice the new watch, right? The new severe thunderstorm watch.
Okay, so yeah, Cody's good.
Yeah, new severe thunderstorm watch. Basically, for the rest of the metros, the heart of the metro. There you go, right in there. That will take us through 5 a.m. So we got a long night ahead of us.
Okay, so there's the tornado watch. See how that extends and just kind of nudges into the metro. That red box is in place until 1 a.m. There's the latest severe thunderstorm watch box that comes from Sibley County and Blue Earth County and then rolls through the metro and all the way across, say, Goodhue County up during Pepin and all the way up to areas like
Rice Lake, Eau Claire, New Richmond, Hayward. In through, that would be River Falls, Red Wing also included in that.
Yep, so our good friends, Randy Meyer is up here right now. A good friend, Jeff Pastel, up here right now.
Of course they are. Doesn't Randy Meyer go up there like every weekend?
Takes a helicopter to his lake estate.
He gets access to the Fox 9 chopper?
Yeah, it's a lake estate, so he probably should. You know, when you were talking a couple of seconds ago, Cody, about how these segments here of the severe thunderstorm warning are so close. Yeah. So close, but still so far. Notice it filling in here.
It is definitely filling in.
And these storms are super convective. With the amount of lightning, it looks like that northern branch that you talked about stalling. Yeah. It looks like the northern area here that's kind of north of Coon Rapids and Blaine, it looks like it's tearing.
It kind of does.
It's going to take the mean storm motion here and continue off to the east-northeast. It's this bottom portion of the line that's kind of hanging out for its friends to join up down here in McLeod and Sibley County. And once that gets going, I think that's the energy portion of the storm that wants to roll across this severe thunderstorm watch.
I agree. And if you actually roll over to Weather 2, and if you can pull up Weather 2 real quick, I can kind of walk us through the last hour. You'll see the MCV and you can point it out. See how it just kind of rotates in with some of the precipitation?
Yeah. So
center of the screen, so it's kind of...
Watch right here. Do it again, Cody. Here's the rotation Cody's talking about. Watch as it comes together. There's the very slow rotation right there. If you can, you think about a very small, compact area of low pressure. Yeah. And once this whole thing begins to come together and we create one big, massive, you know, it's really an amalgamation of HP supercells.
Yes.
Or to make one big monster high precipitation supercell.
And honestly, two things can happen from there. Either this thing actually slows down a little bit and taps into some of that energy from the low pressure, or it's actually that micro low pressure, that spin there, that it can actually push the whole storm forward and actually increase forward movement in the southeasterly direction. Unfortunately, we don't know what's going to happen until it starts happening, and we're not quite there yet. So we got a little ways to go.
Part of the storm we haven't, I mean, it's well to the north. Chisago County reporting wind damage, 3-inch diameter trees down near North Branch at 11:25. So it's about 11 minutes ago. Yeah. And I will tell you, there are not many damage reports coming in. I think I know why. First of all, it is late at night, and most damage reports are verified by the Weather Service by picture. So whatever's going on in your yard right now, I would tell you it is not time to go outside and get a picture. Cody's got arrows, so once you get onto the northern tap of this storm, that's going to go to the northeast. Everything else looks like it's slowly now turning more east-southeast. Look at, that's a decent line just north of the metro. And I mean, I'm not a gambling man, but I'll bet you $5 this hasn't moved 5 miles in the last 20 minutes.
Seriously, like look at the loop. So just watch.
So watch the clock.
Yeah, watch where Buffalo is and how it just doesn't really move much east of Buffalo in the last Yeah, 35 minutes.
So two things are happening there. Because this isn't moving very fast, it becomes a massive rainmaker.
Yes.
This is a check your sump pump kind of storm, and that is here, North Branch. So once we get past the 35 split where it comes together, you head on up to North Branch, look back all the way to Andover, back, here's the split between Wright and Hennepin counties, and dive all the way down to the southwest. I'm telling you, there is inordinate amounts of rain that are falling. Buffalo, this has been your storm for the better part of the last half hour. Buffalo rain gauges have to be popping. Probably 1.5 inches by now.
Yeah,
and those little white dots, for people asking, those are lightning strikes. We've just, on Cody's radar, we just shrink them down so we can actually see, see the storm.
Got a report of 51-mile-an-hour wind gusts in Rush City. That was just a few minutes ago.
So when we were talking about Mora and Cambridge, that's that same area.
Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to get to 60 to have a severe thunderstorm warning, but the 51 is close enough.
Yeah, it's very, very strong winds, enough to do some damage, localized damage wherever those winds are. Rush City, Mora, Cambridge, you're all under the weather gun. You know, put your personal storm plan into effect. I know we're not talking about massive tornadoes rolling across the region. We are talking about very strong, severe thunderstorms. You see this little tip bending all the way back to it crosses Highway 12 and almost meets the other severe thunderstorm warning for Brown, McLeod, Redwood, and Sibley counties until midnight. That's Anoka, Hennepin, Ramsey, and Wright. I would imagine watching right here, and Cody, we're on your computer. Can you scope? So let's go west of the metro. Let's scope kind of Buffalo coming through Wright and into Hennepin County.
Look at that line.
Yeah. So that's why I'm wondering why the new warning hasn't been popped for areas of the southwest metro. I think we're waiting for that second line down toward Sibley County.
Yeah, this feels
to catch up.
This looks more downbursty though than forward progress winds.
Well, I mean, think about what you've got here. Yeah, it's not forward. See the bright green right here? Well, and what Cody's talking about when I mentioned a microburst, you know, the sneezing at the table in the diner and it just goes out. That's in essence a microburst, a good analogy for a microburst. So all of these winds that are suspended in the storm, all of the energy suspended in the storm, the hail, the rain, when the storm begins to dissipate and collapse, boom, it's like spilling all of that energy out onto the counter, and there's nowhere for it to go because it hits the counter. Well, it hits the ground right here, and it splays out and creates severe thunderstorm wind damage that many times will mirror tornadic damage.
Yeah, and doesn't necessarily mean it's occurring, but in this particular case, it just means that you're not necessarily, so a lot of times with these strong lines of storms, you'll actually get some of the strongest winds on the leading edge, so the front edge of this as it pushes eastward.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, it appears
right
like the strongest winds are actually in the core, which is a little off and into the storm itself.
Let's wait for the next scan to come around. You'll see the scan, and where Cody's talking about the core, see that bright white area right there, and another couple just popped up.
You'll see if there's some hail in there.
Yeah, if there's, so what Cody's going to look for right now is something we call VIL, vertically.
Yeah.
Man, it's acronym night. Vertically integrated liquid. Basically, if there's a hail core in there, it looks like really big raindrops, but those are actually big wet hailstones.
Yeah,
and there's the core that Cody was just talking about. That's exactly where that wind profile was as well.
Yeah.
So there's a decent core setting up right here, just off to the east of Buffalo. And I want to make sure that everybody knows. Cody and I, we can nerd out, we can geek out all night. The information that we glean when we scan any of these storms enables us to tell you exactly what's going to happen here in the next 15, 30, and 45 minutes. The power invested in this storm, in the core of this storm, and where it's headed. So this is not where you're going to find the strongest winds here approaching. There's Lake Minnetonka. There's Maple Grove, and you come all the way down here and you move out here. That's where you'd find Wayzata. and areas here all the way out into Orono and Long Lake. So here's where you go 12 out to Delano. So you get through Orono, you get through Long Lake. This entire area right here, the rain has started, the thunder, the lightning, you're like, oh my God, this thing is almost on us. But the core that Cody's been talking about is right here between Buffalo and Delano. And it is slowly going to slide paralleling Highway 12 here. And I will tell you, areas to the west of Plymouth are really under the weather gun if that core is holding together the way it looks right now.
It really is, and it's almost moving off to the east because that cell to the west of it, right along all of our acronyms that we've been talking about for the last 20 minutes, is moving and kind of pushing. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that core when that next storm kind of pushes its way in. But it's moving into the east, maybe pushing the core a little bit south of east, so maybe in this general direction towards Plymouth.
Yeah.
Towards the Maple Grove split.
Yeah. Yeah, it's areas to the west of Plymouth and Maple Grove, north of Highway 12. And just, I mean, I don't want to take Delano out of it. Yeah. I'd keep Delano. I mean, Delano, it's knocking on your doorstep right here. So large hail's a definite possibility with that very strong current. Do you have storm tracks? Can you put storm tracks on there? Let's see if we can pick up a hail core.
Apparently no.
Okay.
Not getting anything.
Yeah, they're there.
Oh, there we go.
I mean, that's exactly. See, this is where meteorologically you get redemption in some ways because you're like, well, there's the vertically integrated liquid. That's where the big hail core is. See the bright white when the scan goes around. That's and so the blue diamond. That's why I said there it is. The blue diamond signifies that Doppler has locked on to hail core signatures. And notice these are moving kind of now off to the east-northeast. Important to note, when a storm makes a directional change, it can easily 5 scans later make another change and come back the other way. It's kind of like when you were a kid and you were learning to ride your bike, and instead of going straight down the sidewalk, you would do one of these and your mom or dad would be running behind you while you had the training wheels on and you were leaning and the bike would kind of wobble all the way down the sidewalk. Storms wobble. They are not perfect mechanisms that only travel in a specific line. And as I say that, a new mesosignature here, we were talking about this earlier, that gold box, you want to talk about a confused storm around this core? Cheers. So the gold box, that's the meso, that gives you an idea where it thinks the track is heading here, off to the southeast. The hail core is heading off to the east-northeast. Little confused. I'm
confused.
Well, it's late. What time is it? It's 11:44. And Cody hit the nail on the head. When we came on the air, there was a severe thunderstorm warning out here. And then all of a sudden it shifted. And we took it for the North Metro, north of the downtowns of Minneapolis and St. Paul, and north into Anoka, Hennepin, Ramsey, and Wright counties. That's where you see flashing here until midnight. Every scan that comes along, Cody, this area of rain does not advance toward the metro.
Move.
This area of rain is slowly trying to catch up. There is one thing I want to draw your attention to. All of the little white flecks here, that's lightning tracker. This area where we found that core for you, that area is super convective. Everywhere else, kind of losing its oomph.
A little bit. It actually looks like a lot of the lost a lot of oomph right along the leading edge of the southern end of this line because it's now becoming a little more frayed on radar. So the sharper the line, typically the stronger the leading edge. Mm-hmm. And so as it frays outward and you get all these little tiny things out here.
Yeah, it looks like the dude's beard on Pirates of the Caribbean.
Kinda, yeah. Yeah, it just shows signs that it's basically losing some of its oomph, and it's actually being shoved along forward by cool air. And so you're still going to get some gusty winds on the leading edge of that, clearly because of our severe thunderstorm warning, but it just doesn't have that look any longer.
No, that warning is still trying to give it a straight line wind event. Can you do me a favor? Can we go back and scope where we were on that core?
100%.
So here's where we were talking, just off to the east of Buffalo and barely off to the north of Delano. And yeah, man, that core, it didn't move.
Yeah, let me put it in motion, get a couple scans. There you go. Yeah, it's not moving much.
Well, there was a little jog there. I think the hail, where we had the hail track on it, said it was moving east. It does get a little right at the end. It gets a little jog. So right now it's right over top of Rockford. Corcoran, St. Michael, that whole area, 694, as you come into 101, you start to get toward the Mississippi River. The core is split. Or at least we have two definitive hail core signatures. Hey, Hannah, could you do me a favor? Cody, I'm going to take you off that. Go to Weather 1. And what I want to do is get down. I'm going to do a 3D slice. So we've seen where the core is from above. That's called the bird's eye view when we're looking straight down on the storm. Now I want to be able to give you at least a slice through that storm so we can identify. Now, we're finally starting to get more lightning tracks. You can see on my computer, I've got these big lightning tracks. Kind of like, well, that's where they are. I just want to zoom out a skosh. Which is still my favorite word of all time.
Turn your lighting off. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so there's where the core is. So we could track that for you for 30 seconds first here, Cody, and give you at least an idea where the core is headed. See that glow, that magenta, white, purple area right there? I'll track that one cell for you and move it forward in time, and keeping in mind as you move forward in time, still moving very slow at around 22 miles per hour. That puts it into Corcoran here in the next 27 minutes, 10, 20, and 30 minutes for the direction of this storm to continue to move. But now let's go a 3D slice through and see if I can catch that core for you, Cody. So I'm going to come just south of Buffalo here toward Corcoran. And yeah, that's a decent storm. That's where the core is, right here, that we were just looking. So there's the center of the core. That's the tracking fan that I just had. Yeah. So here is the core. It's good. It's not incredible meteorologically. Let me see. I've never done this on the air yet, so you're just gonna have to.
Yeah, there you go.
So I can take you and slice you all the way through the storm. Where is the best portion of the core? It's about there.
Yeah, you had it about right there.
It's about there. So we're talking 40,000 feet. It's pretty decent. I mean, when you start to look at the reflectivity here in the core, it's the same thing that you were picking up on the VIL scan from above.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I just got a report. That's what I was looking at from the National Weather Service. Reports of trees down in the city of St. Michael because of some gusty winds.
Wow. Okay. So, you know, we had reports along the Minnesota River Valley, and Cody, they were indicative of what we thought was going to happen. We had wind gusts at 58 to 68 miles per hour.
Yep.
Now we're talking about St. Michael, which is west-northwest of the metro. You got a new mesocore beginning to pop up here. So there's where the core was. Now you've got a secondary core. So look, you've got 40,000+ feet here. That's where the core is that we've been scanning. The greatest suspended material, the greatest energy and oomph, the greatest updraft is right here in that storm. I'm not sure that the second one behind it isn't going to be bigger.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. I'm actually just looking a couple things up real quick because I want to check something. Just interesting to note, and maybe a sign of what's to come for the rest of the evening. Can you go to the west towards the South Dakota border? I want to show you something and see if you can make heads or tails of it as well, since we don't have
off to the south, like where we were in Canby?
out by Canby.
Well, there's Millbank.
Look at the new cell on the northern end. So the line drops southward, and then
right here.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that before. I don't want to presume, but suddenly we're getting stuff behind the line. Does that mean stuff's going to redevelop behind this line?
How many times do you see that in 5-6 times in a career? So, and the reason I say that, this is like a real unruly crowd of thousands of people, and they're moving forward, trying to find food and water and shelter, and somehow another 1,000 people kind of pull off behind them and go, well, let's go this way. And yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, Cody. That's an incredible cell. I have to think that it's going to roll into, so storms are like forest fires. in many, many ways. They will search for fuel to continue to develop and grow and continue strong.
And
if
survive.
they can't find the fuel, they don't survive. So as this line of storms pulls away, this little storm is now going to roll into basically used up fuel. It's going to try and push its way through a part of the forest that has already been spent, and that is an interesting little cell.
Yeah, it's wild. I'm just looking up current conditions. I mean, there is an enormous amount of fuel coming into southern and central Minnesota right now. Just an enormous amount of moisture. So I don't know. Maybe this is just the beginning of a very long, very wet night for some folks.
So the core hasn't moved. It is still right there, just to the north of Delano along Highway 12.
I'm intrigued what the National Weather Service is going to do at the top of the hour, because that's when all of our warnings will expire, and to see kind of how they handle moving forward, because there's still clearly a severe weather threat, but it's hard to place exactly where things are going to go. That cell in the eastern side of Wright County and northwestern Hennepin County hasn't moved, so it's just very. This is a very
huge
intriguing
pocket
situation.
right here.
Yeah.
And you know, if you were just say you were just at home, and let's say you're a bit of a weather nerd, and you're looking at Looping Radar, the Foxtown weather app. Again, not a gambling man, but I think most people would have said, oh, this whole thing is going to zip together, and probably thought it would have done it some 45 minutes to an hour ago.
Yeah.
Instead, they both roll in. This one slams on the brakes, and this area of the storm here, Hutchinson, all the way into parts of McLeod County, is just kind of like falling apart.
Yeah, this is new. I haven't seen something like this in a while.
It's great. The storm dynamics here are great. But again, it is all about trying to keep you ahead of the storm, if you will. I'm going to move around a little bit here, Cody. We haven't done it in a while, and try and take folks.
I mean, it's one of the reasons we're still on the air, because if we're perplexed, then the average Joe is going to be like, huh?
Yeah.
What is happening?
So here, let's go all the way up 35. Once we get up to Sandstone and Moose Lake, I mean, these are areas when you're on your way to Duluth and you drive through and you say, hey, honey, Sandstone, hey, Moose Lake. What I called these earlier, rumbling rainers. I don't want you to think we forgot about you. There are no warnings up here. These are big, booming, rumbling thunderstorms that will drop some decent rainfall amounts, maybe even over an inch. The strongest portion of the middle of this storm is now, so here's I-35, is now to the east of there, moving off toward Frederick and soon into areas like Hayward and Spooner. I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of cabin dwellers from the metro who go up here into this portion in north central or northwestern portions of Wisconsin. This is another strong bowing storm that is headed to your way. And I move you down 35 even further, North Branch, big rumbling rainer, no warning. And then you come down toward the 35s, come together, and it is all about the severe thunderstorm warning that is still in place until midnight. 6 minutes from now, zero storm reports other than the trees down in St. Michael. Zero.
Very weird storm. Yeah, and it just that particular core hasn't moved. Now, it will be interesting to see what happens now that the southwest line is now running into that storm in sections of Wright County and western Carver County.
Right here, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see kind of how the interaction unfolds. It does look like a mesoscale convective vortex. So if you go west of Hutchinson, that Hutchinson area, that's kind of the northern edge of the vortex. It's kind of spinning its way eastward.
You're looking here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
Yeah, I mean, a little colder, dry air intrusion here in that little storm. I think maybe that's why it's ragtagging at the front.
Yeah, it could be.
Did you see that last scan where it went?
No, I missed it.
This entire area shifted and moved to the northeast.
Huh.
I was talking about Gaylord earlier in Sibley County, then down toward Newham. And I think why it moved to the northeast is because we're talking about that large-scale rotation right here. So all of this is going to slide to the north. And if you think about it, it's what Cody was talking about earlier. Is it going to catch up to this storm? And will that focus, and Cody, you mentioned this earlier, and I think we sort of threw it by because there's still lots going on. Is that going to bring an MCV right here? with this area of the storm folding into it, coming across areas like Carver County. So there's Carver County, there's Wright County, here's Hennepin County. Is that what we're going to see?
I don't know. It's possible. I'm looking. No, they haven't updated yet. I'm
going to get back to this while you're doing that. So
yeah.
Where we're talking about is right here. So there's the large, I mean, really large scale, broad rotation here. Is that going to catch up to this line of very strong thunderstorms coming into the north and northwest metro? If it does, you end up, it's like adding, I don't know, oil-soaked logs to a grand outdoor fire. It's fuel laden, and the storms should multiply in terms of size and strength if that happens.
In theory. Yeah, I can't say I've seen that. I'm just trying to get some updates from the National Weather Service on what they're going to do at the top of the hour. I haven't seen anything. They haven't reported anything, so they may just allow these to expire or kind of see how things unfold here. I'm getting nothing in, for your knowledge, on chat or our Slack. So at the moment, we just don't have a lot of information. I know we have what we can do, since we've got a couple minutes before the top of the hour and wait for some updates from the Weather Service. I know we've got the tornado video from Bill Doms queued up somewhere. These will be from the Canby area. So this is west of Canby. This was what, about 7 o'clock?
This was just after. This was after 7 p. This was this is 8:30-ish.
Yeah.
This is the second tornado to touch down in almost the same spot. And Bill Doms has been a dear friend of mine for many, many years, and he just couldn't believe what he was seeing. I mean, this, you know, so you get the, I'm not in front of it, but you get that laminar flow, all that blackness at the bottom, and that's dirt being kicked up from the field.
It was just moving so incredibly slow and very, I mean, as picturesque as a tornado can be.
That's what I was mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
You can't go on the air and say, wow, is that ever cool? Because it's not. Because tornadoes are so deadly and so destructive. If they stay in the middle of a field, I mean, that one farmer, I feel bad. I feel bad for the farming family.
Yes, 100%.
But if it stays away from homes, if it stays away from people, it's kind of if you can have a best case scenario, that's it.
Yeah, agreed.
Hey, you keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to go to the break room and grab us some water.
Okay. So yeah, if you want to go back to weather, let's go to Weather 2, if you would, which is the computer I'm on. And you can kind of see what's left of the severe thunderstorm warning in the Twin Cities. So it's just a weird-shaped box, courtesy of the National Weather Service, because at the time, if we were to scan this backwards, at the time, the storm was moving one direction. Well, because of the change in direction here, things started moving a different direction. And so we're just kind of waiting, kind of a wait-and-see mode from the National Weather Service to see what they're going to do. So I'm just getting word here. It looks like they're expiring the severe thunderstorm warning. Thanks, Ian. Expiring the severe thunderstorm warning for Brown, McLeod, Nicollet, Redwood, and Sibley County. So that is the south one. They're expiring that warning at the top of the hour. No word on the Twin Cities one. Looks like it just expired. It just dropped. So there you go. Reports of penny-size hail in Wright County, in St. Michael. So there we go. We're getting confirmation that hail did actually reach the ground. Penny-sized hail, 3.
That's the core we've been talking about all night.
That's the core.
I think the core is still there.
Very
look,
much.
If there is a slower moving storm in the existence of my meteorological career, some 34 years, I've never seen it. Because the storm came up and kissed Maple Grove, hit the brakes, and hasn't moved. So look, from Maple Grove, here along 94 for parts of Hennepin County, then once you stretch toward Buffalo and Wright County, and then dive down toward Meeker, McLeod, even parts of Sibley County, there is some rain totals that I think will shake our boots tomorrow.
I'm finally getting some. So a lot of times these rain totals are 15 to 30 minutes delayed, just because it takes a little while for us to receive them. So just southeast side of Buffalo now, just shy of 1.5 inches in about the last, that's probably the last hour. And that particular cell has not moved. So I would not be surprised if this lasts too much longer to see some at least minor flash flooding occurring in parts of eastern Wright County and northwestern Hennepin County. So Buffalo to Delano.
It's Keith Marler's calling. He may be.
This could be fun.
Well, Keith Marler lives up here in the northwest corner of the mountain. I'm going to take it.
I need somebody to
I got you and you're live on the air, Keith.
turn this up.
I got you and you're live on the air, Keith.
And he just hung up on you.
Yeah, I am getting reports from my friend, our dear friend Allie, who used to be with us in Creative Services. She's checking in from Rockford. She said very windy, a lot of lightning, and now the update is and a lot of hail.
Oh.
Allie, when it's safe, get outside and give me a picture with a comparison of a quarter or something in there so we know what's happening. Keith, if you're trying to check in, keep calling, man. I'll pick up the phone. That's what live storm tracking is about.
There you go.
It's about being here and talking to you and giving you the information so you know. So Rockford, lots of rain, lots of lightning, and now hail. St. Michael, over toward Buffalo. So when we last looked, so stop it right there. Go back to when it's crossing 55. That's when we split it into two cores. A couple more right there. That's where it was at 11:43. It is now almost 25 minutes past that. Move that forward. And it
doesn't really move.
It's moved 5 or 6 miles.
If that.
And that's the big time hail core. So it is now south of St. Michael. It is still approaching Corcoran. Remember, about 15 minutes ago, I was tracking it. I had the tracker on the screen, and it moved it into Corcoran in 24 minutes. So that's coming here in the next 4 or 5 minutes.
Looks like there may be a second hill core west of Delano.
Just trying to get going, yeah. So we'll watch this for large hail. We'll watch it for very strong winds. And like I said earlier, when you have these decent cores, eventually the cores are going to come out. You know, it's like a weightlifter holding weights in the air. Eventually he or she's got to drop them. And when the core comes out of these storms, they can be entirely destructive. Yeah, pull that off for a second. So here's 94 from Monticello all the way down here into the 494, 694 split. That's obviously Maple Grove, Plymouth area, just north of Plymouth. And then you stretch back toward Brooklyn Park. The amount of people here that have the thunder and the lightning and how very strong this storm is with that core just south of St. Michael, there will be people up there. And I imagine that's why Keith was calling. Probably to say, oh man, this is pretty darn nasty.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So Keith, if you can hear me, I'd love just call my phone. I'll take it live on the air. It's 12:04. It's kind of like what David Letterman did after midnight. We'll just do whatever we have to do. And we're not going to throw watermelons off the roof, but we'll take a call live on the air.
That could be fun.
With a cell phone next to a microphone if we have to. Plymouth is now starting to get into the storm. The one thing we had more of a northeast to southwest orientation. Cody, I think you'll agree with me that this storm is sort of flattening out here.
A little bit.
It's more northeast. See how it begins to fall apart?
Yeah.
It's almost like it's slumping into the metro.
Yeah.
Falling forward into the metro rather than traveling.
Well, the northeast side's really starting to fall apart.
Yeah, it's gone.
And it looks like it's really just being contained by this vortex, the MCV that we've been talking about, as it kind of spins its way in.
It's trying to pull it back.
Yeah.
It just won't let it advance. Let me just see. I think Keith Marler's. Now I have no caller ID. I'm not taking that one live on the air.
That could be real fun.
That would not be good. Yeah, I'm not taking that. So Keith, if that was you, call me back from your phone so I have the caller ID. So here's what I was talking about. Here is where you've got the spin. The mesoscale system right here. Where's the spin? So in terms of that trying to move forward, you have to think it's pulling this back to involve it in the overall spin. That's why instead of this southwest to northeast, now it's kind of almost west-east. It's falling or slumping here into the metro. And I think that's why it's not moving very fast. We've barely moved 10 or 15 miles forward with that storm from when that severe thunderstorm warning came out.
Yeah, no kidding. Let me pull up a jam cam. Let's see what we got over here.
Hey, Hannah, can you find camera 21 for me and let me know if we've still got lightning's still pinging away like mad, right?
Oh, yeah.
I just got an update too. Lightning says on my phone, I have lightning tracker on my phone, says it struck 4 miles from my location. So, you know, we sometimes call this a bolt from the blue, right? The parent storm is back off towards St. Michael, where we now have reports of storm damage. And just so you know, we're in Eden Prairie. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Let's. Can we pull up the jam cam? Yeah, there you go. So this is just basically
Look
south.
at the wind whipping the rain on the road.
This is the south end of Rogers. So this is at 94 in Brockton Lane, and that is a lot of wind and a lot of rain, and that's essentially in that core that we've been talking about for the last 20, 30 minutes or so. Some very heavy rain, and there's that trend of folks putting their flashers on as you're driving. Not the greatest idea.
What is that?
I don't know where that came from.
Is that new?
I don't know. I've seen it in the last couple 3 years. It's become more common. Not something that suggested flashers are for when you're off the road and stopped.
So you're trying to give yourself more, I really don't know.
I don't understand
visibility?
Well,
you see lightning pinging away and the wind whipped rain on the roads there. You know, and I've said this many years, it is not a night fit for man nor beast outside tonight.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Okay, so Hannah, have I given Hannah a shout out in the last 20 minutes? I don't think I have. Hannah is sitting in our director's chair tonight. By the way, we're after midnight, so Hannah's shift ended an hour ago. And when you go to Hannah and say, hey, help us out, she's like, no problem, severe weather, I'm all over it. So Hannah, thank you so much. Let's go away from the jam cam, come back to Weather One. My weather computer. I'll clear all this hubbub off and we'll start talking. Oh, so Cody, instead of a severe thunderstorm warning,
it's a special
now they've
weather
issued
statement.
a special weather statement. But here's how things are weird. That severe thunderstorm warning was, okay, there's the latest. And so I take back that it was weird. The severe thunderstorm warning was here. We now are involved in a tornado warning that is out here, southwest portion of the metro. And that tornado warning is for parts of Carver and Hennepin County until 12:45.
Located right now over the city of Mayer.
Okay, so that is
rotation.
Yeah, so Rockford, Mayer, in that entire area. So I'm going to take you down one step further here, so we can
zoom
talk
in on
about
that.
this storm. I'd want to talk about how you put your personal storm plan into effect. There's a very small tornado warning, by the way. To the north, the violet area that is glowing with white in the background, that is a special weather statement for, so a special weather statement is one step under a severe thunderstorm warning.
Oh, yeah.
It still says that this is a very, very strong storm. I want you to focus here. So from Minnetrista back toward Lester Prairie, down toward Norwood, Young America, I want you to move everything, and think about if you're in these areas, all the way up to Minnetonka, down Highway 7, bordering and north of Highway 212, not quite into the 494, 694 loop, but when you start to think of Chanhassen, then Chaska and Shakopee and all of those little towns that march here, Victoria, before you get to Waconia, that is the area that is now in the tornado warning. If you are in this area, I want you to put your personal storm plan into effect. I'm going to do one thing here. I just want to stop the loop on my particular computer. What are they saying about this thing?
Right now, it is a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado that's located over the city of Mayer and moving to the east at 30 miles an hour. I'm looking at it, and it appears to be the connection point between the southern line and that northern line. So all the winds are coming together, and looks like we may get a quick spin up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is. It's that little gap we were talking about.
It's the gap.
All right, so we're filling in the gap now with a tornado warning. If you're in this area here, so if you're Mayer all the way to Waconia, personal storm plan into effect. A quick little spin up could be disastrous. It is get away from windows, get to the innermost portion of your house. And if you're in a condo or an apartment building, the inner hallways on the lowest level. If you think to yourself, well, the lowest level of my house, I won't be able to watch Ian and Cody and listen to the coverage, just grab your remote, crank up the volume and get to a safe area. Watching is not important. I'm going to walk you through this storm with Cody as it continues to advance here through the tornado warning for Carver and Hennepin counties until 12:45. This is a long-standing tornado warning. We're talking about 35 minutes from now until 12:45.
And if you switch over to Weather 2, I can show you why. Look at all the little notches on the leading edge of this, as all of that everything interacts
here,
there,
and here, and here. So
there and there.
Yeah, what Cody was talking about was spin-ups, and we get this, and it's generally in linear-based storms. Something, oh man, another QLCS, quasi-linear convective system.
We love our acronyms.
So you get all these little spin-ups. Okay. Sorry, I'm talking to Leif, our producer in the booth. No, you're good. So all of these little tiny notches around here. Now, Doppler velocity, I've explained this for many, many years, and people say, can you explain it again? You're standing on a highway and a speeding car goes from this side to this side, and as the car goes by, it goes, and the pitch changes. In essence, that's Doppler technology, but instead of the pitch, we're looking at suspended hydrometeors. We're able to lock on with the Doppler beam and see if there's a degree of rotation, but not just overall rotation, it's rotation that is very tightly packed together in something we call gate-to-gate shear. And once we find that, that's when a Doppler indicated tornado warning comes out, and that's exactly what we're dealing with right now. A Doppler indicated tornado warning for areas here near Mare, but as I mentioned, it is also approaching Waconia, and once we come along this line, so now west of Waconia, personal storm plan into effect. Crank the TV volume, get into that closet of yours, get to the lowest level of your home, and continue to keep listening. We're going to walk you through this storm every step through the tornado warning. And Cody, if you look at those scans with, do you have a correlation coefficient?
Yeah, I can pull it up.
I just love to have a look. So what correlation coefficient, see how bright that is? And notice the notch here. From Mare as it's starting to come together.
And honestly, if you're not in this tornado warning, so I'm going to move this.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
So even south of the Waconia, if you're not officially in that box, there's still some concern to be had.
Yeah. Once you get down to Dahlgren and Cologne, so from Cologne, it's at the very bottom of the screen. See Cologne right there to Waconia? Cody's talking about this area here. So the inbound, outbound Doppler velocities, they're washed through most of this line. Where we find that bright green here to the north and west of Waconia, I have an area of concern there. Where we have this bright red and bright green here, south of Waconia into Cologne, I have an area of concern here. So there are two areas of concerns. One is squarely here in the western end of the tornado warning. The other is out of the tornado warning, but just north of Cologne. That is Highway 212 from Cologne to Dahlgren, Victoria, all the way into Waconia. That is Highway 5. These two areas here are really areas of concern. Just off to the west-northwest of Waconia, and just off to the south of Waconia, off to the west-northwest of Cologne.
And I've got the correlation coefficient. Here you go.
So interesting. Where we were looking here, where I said there was an area of concern.
Yeah.
This is different than Doppler technology, than Doppler velocity technology. Correlation coefficient will tell us if there has been a tornado touchdown. It would basically give us, and you may have heard this before, it would give us a debris ball signature. And you know, when you start to look at that, this could either be a debris ball, or it could be some very heavy rain, it could be a deep hail core here.
I'm not convinced that that's what that is.
No, because we'd have a report already on that. But yeah, it is Mare. Mare, I'd say you're out of the strongest portion of the storm now.
Oh, there it is. They just issued a tornado warning farther to the south. Here, let me zoom out.
That's why.
They must have. Wow. Oh, that's a big tornado warning.
So okay, so you know why, Cody? What we were looking at here, just north of Cologne, I said that was an area of concern.
Yeah.
Notice this is organizing into a straight line wind event now.
It is and isn't.
All along.
You'll get those little spin-ups in the front end of it. So all these little, let me
go here just do me one favor.
Sure, yeah.
Go scope between Waconia all the way down to Cologne.
Oh, there it is. That is an observed tornado.
Okay, so let's center on this. Okay, so what Cody's talking about here, now that is glowing in pink, the outline, that is an observed tornado. In other words, a tornado on the ground, and I'll tell you what we're talking about here.
Just came across a confirmed tornado located over Waconia, moving to the east at 35 miles an hour.
22 miles south of Buffalo, moving east at 35 miles per hour. Okay, if you are in
the city of Waconia.
Cody, go back to Doppler, velocity.
Oh, yeah,
if you are in the city of Waconia, remember we talked about Mayor, and I said this one here just to the northwest of Waconia, I'm a little bit nervous. I don't like the way it looked. If you're in Waconia, it is time to put your personal storm plan into effect. A confirmed tornado. Again, let me say that one more time. A confirmed tornado over the city of Waconia. It is moving off to the east at between 30 and 35 miles per hour. This is not a Doppler indicated tornado warning. This is an observed tornado on the ground in, around, and over the city of Waconia. Here is Waconia. Notice the bright banding here as these storms are coming together. It is moving off to the east at 35 miles per hour. And you're thinking to yourself, well, how fast is that? If there's a tornado on the ground in Waconia and it stays on the ground in Waconia, look what's next is it's heading east 35 miles per hour into Victoria. That would take it about 7.5 minutes, 7.5 to 10 minutes to get from Waconia to Victoria. If you're here all along Highway 5, and there are lots of little tiny hamlets and little subdivisions, in particular just on the southern portion of Highway 5, all this area, it is time to just stop what you're doing. Stop what you are doing and listen to my voice. Turn up the television as loud as you can get it and get away from windows. Get off your main floor. If you have a basement, get down to the basement. Your personal storm plan, put it into effect. If you're in small apartment buildings, 2 or 3 stories, get into the innermost hallway on the furthest bottom floor. If it's the first floor, that's fine. I want you to get down into the lowest possible place. Stay away from the exterior walls and windows. Again, a tornado reported on the ground in the city of Waconia. It is moving off to the east. It is on the ground near Hydes Lake. So this is Norwood Young America now.
Yeah, that's the second one.
That's the second tornado if you look back. Okay, so near Hydes Lake. So
it was both. I think it was both that we were talking about.
There was one here, and there's a second tornado now reported near Hydes Lake in and around Norwood Young America. See it right here just to the north of Norwood Young America? 2 tornadoes are what we're talking about. And earlier I was using 212 and Highway 5 as our aiming points, and that's exactly where we are. So a tornado, I'd say the tornado has shifted unless this is it right here, Cody.
To be honest, I don't know, and that may have actually been a delayed report, because if you look back to just northeast of Norwood Young America, there's nothing there. I think it's the 2 signatures right here. So I would say just to the northeast of, kind of on the northeastern side of Waconia, or potentially over Waconia, and then this secondary area right in here would be the one that potentially was around Hydes Lake. If I'm understanding that correctly, I'm just going to do
Hydes Lake. Yeah, that's what I have here. 12:15 train spotter confirmed tornado on the ground near Hydes Lake, 3 miles to the northeast of Norwood Young America. So 3 miles to the northeast would be here. Then you talk about Highway 5 all the way into the city of Waconia, where we had a confirmed tornado on the ground. We are still in the confirmed tornado phase for Carver and Scott counties. We are still in the tornado confirmed phase. This is not a drill. This is not a Doppler indicated tornado. This was 4.5 minutes ago, a tornado on the ground in the city of Waconia. That's the report. Weather observers said a tornado is on the ground. Now, we're no longer pink. We still are pink. We've just moved that warning ever so slightly, correct?
Yes.
Take the scope off for 30 seconds
Sure.
for me. And okay, so yeah, we began to slowly bring the tornado warning here. So we talked about a tornado on the ground in the city of Waconia. Notice there's the rain. Here's Highway 5 working all the way into Victoria. Also reports of a tornado on the ground near Hyde Lake, 3 miles to the north and east of Norwood Young America, Highway 5, Highway 212. If these are your home areas between Highway 5, between Highway 212, it is all about your personal storm plan, my friends. Turn up the TV. Let us know that you're watching. You can get online. We've sent out an alert through the Fox 9 weather app to let folks know we're on air, and we're not just on air talking about storms. We're talking about confirmed tornadoes.
Yeah, and I would actually say that there are 2 other areas of concern. So there's 2 large tornado warnings. I would say another area of concern is right near or just to the east of Belle Plaine, with that little notch right in here. And then there's another one just to the west of Carver that I would also indicate giving me a little pause as well. These are not confirmed, but also could be quick little spin-ups as this whole line continues to press to the east.
I'm just sending a note, and this is something we do sometimes as meteorologists. I'm just sending a note to my wife and daughter. Basement, please. My home is in Eden Prairie. The Fox 9 Weather Center here is in Eden Prairie. Gives you an idea of what I think in terms of how strong these storms are with confirmed tornadoes on the ground. We live in Eden Prairie right here. This is where the storm, this is where we are covering you from for the Twin Cities Broadcast Center. Confirmed tornado on the ground near Norwood Young America, Hyde Lake, 3 miles to the northeast of Norwood Young America. A confirmed tornado on the ground over top of the city of Waconia.
Just got an update.
Yeah, what is it?
Looks like confirmed tornado is now located over St. Bonifacius.
St. Bonnie.
Yes. Moving to the east at 40.
Okay, so the tornado
So that's a second one because that's down here. So now both are confirmed tornado warnings.
Yeah, St. Bonnie would go, no, St. Bonnie's up here. So go ahead and you can scope or do what you need to do and dive down.
Yeah.
I will tell you.
And now a tornado-producing storm was located over Carver. So yeah, it's all the little notches we've been talking about. We're trying to get some updates from the Weather Service as they're coming in. Hang on, let me scope this. So it's all these little notches we were talking about. Wow, that is...
Okay, so we're done with Waconia. We're talking about St. Bonnie. Again, here's Highway 5 that comes into Victoria. Notice, I mean, this is unbelievable gate-to-gate shear. So see where St. Bonnie is?
Yeah, there it is.
See this? So if there is a tornado on the ground, and we've just heard there is, Cody's going to circle it. We've come from Waconia, the tornado confirmed on the ground. We now have a confirmed tornado on the ground just to the south of St. Bonnie.
That's it right there.
We talk about gate-to-gate shear, and what you're looking at here, you're not used to seeing it like this. This is Doppler velocity. It's telling us the inbound and the outbound velocities on radar. As we get the inbound and the outbound and they pass, they create that spin. Almost like taking your fingers and snapping them and spinning a top. Well, we're snapping and we're spinning the top here. The Doppler velocity tells us that tornado should be on the ground just south of St. Bonnie. So now we are north. This is Highway 5 right here. We're north of Highway 5 towards St. Bonnie. And this is where things get kind of crazy. So you go around Lake Waconia to get up towards St. Bonnie and then over towards St. Michael. Highway 7, all these little roads in here. This is one massive area of trees and some very slight undulating hills. So if you're in this area, if you're in Victoria and you walk outside, you're not going to see anything come. Well, first of all, it's after midnight. It's dark outside. You're not going to see the storm. Now we start to end up with this real broad area of rotation. And there are 2 gate-to-gate shears, I mean, kind of presenting themselves here.
Yeah.
Cody, there's one now off to the southeast of St. Bonnie and now one off to the northwest of Victoria.
I would also say that there's that southern one too. So there may even be 3. This one right here.
Yeah, pointing toward just northwest of Chaska. Both of these are Doppler indicated tornado warnings.
Let me zoom in on neighborhoods here and see if we can get closer.
Okay, so let's go up first. Let's start north and then we'll slowly work our way south.
Deal.
So here's St. Bonnie. We're finished with the St. Bonnie. If there is a tornado, it is here. Just so here's Highway 7. Remember I said that? So you come around Lake Waconia. You can get up to St. Bonnie and St. Michael. There's Highway 7. And this works all the way here into the West Metro. Now you look at this bright area here. This is Highway 5 as it comes into Victoria. This is all part of some broad rotation. If this was daylight, I would tell you to go and look at, and the clouds would have this massive area of swirl. But instead, you begin to hone it down. This is an area of concern. We're now east of St. Bonnie along Highway 7. This is another area of concern just about 2 miles to the north of the town of Victoria. There's a beautiful lake right here in Victoria, and my favorite restaurant in the world is right here. Beautiful lake right here. There's where we have gate-to-gate shear, the possibility of a tornado. Now, Cody, let's slide ourselves down, because that's one Doppler on the ground observed tornado warning in between Victoria and St. Bonnie. Now you come south. This is another county here. So this is Carver County, and we are also in a tornado warning for Carver and Scott County
honestly,
until 12:45.
Right over Carver and pushing into Chaska also should be in your tornado shelter.
Okay, so Chaska, Carver, beautiful little towns. My friends who live in and around this region, I want you to put your personal storm plan into effect. In and around Victoria, in and around Chaska, in and around Carver. There's an awful lot going on tonight. These are areas of concern. West, Southwest Metro. If you're not in your safe area, that safe area is an area away from windows. It is an area to the innermost portion of your home, hopefully on the lowest level, the lowest floor. If you're in apartments, multi-unit apartments, get into the interior hallway. Get into the lowest interior hallway if you can.
Yeah, also near Jordan. So Jordan, you're next up, kind of, so you should also be in your tornado shelter. And then farther to the east, keep in mind these scans are will be delayed by a couple minutes. So Chaska, western Shakopee, coming into that neck of the woods, western Chan should also be in your tornado shelter at the moment, as we just continue to kind of funnel down this particular tornado warning in the southwestern metro. That appears to be kind of it. So one west of Jordan, potentially one in and around the Chaska area, and coming into western Shakopee and western Chan, and then the Victoria-St. Bonnie areas appears to be some of the strongest rotation. We're going to get a new scan right now. There you go. So there's the new scan coming into northeastern sections of Victoria. Shorewood may be involved in this as well.
Yeah, so Victoria here, look, that's an incredible amount of shear right here. As you mentioned, Shorewood. To give you an idea, there's the Doppler unit, or as we displayed here on the air. That is right beside Chanhassen High School. To give you a marker in the Southwest Metro, that's why Chanhassen, their teams are called the Storm, because they're right next to the Weather Service. So this is right next to the Chanhassen High School complex. You head west and you run into Victoria. Here, just to the north and east of Victoria, we find shear enough to produce a tornado. Keeping in mind, we have had reports of now 3 tornadoes on the ground. Those 3 tornadoes on the ground were just further off to the west, starting in areas around Norwood, Young America, near Hyde Lake, then moving to Waconia. Those are all done. Then moving toward St. Bonnie, that is now done.
Oh, yeah.
We're now talking about storms here. That's the one I was just talking about on Highway 7.
That is a debris signature right there.
Okay, so north and east of Victoria. See Highway 7, south and west of Shoreview. I can't emphasize this enough.
Right along Highway 7.
This is not a drill. This is not a Doppler indicated tornado warning. This is an observed tornado on the ground. That's why we have the large pink box here. That means observed. There's Victoria. Here's Highway 7. And that, for all intents and purposes, looks to be a debris ball from a tornado on the ground right between Victoria and Shorewood. So if you're in these areas, even western portions of Chanhassen and northern portions of Chanhassen and Shorewood and Minnetonka, these are all areas that I need you to put your personal storm plan into effect. Stay away from windows, stay away from exterior walls, and get to the lowest level of your particular building. Turn the television up. If you can't watch the TV, if you can't watch us, track it with my voice. I will let you know, just as I did for Waconia. Waconia, you're all in the clear. So here's where we're thinking the tornado is, but there's a very strong rotation now just to the north of Victoria.
True.
Plenty of rotations on radar because of the storm components, where we end up with kind of a linear motion of these storms creating these spin-ups. So look, here's 169. Here's
right along 169.
169 all the way south. There are some very strong signatures for tornadic activity, possibly on the ground. We have confirmed tornadoes on the ground for all of these counties over the last 15 minutes, and they continue to move off to the east. And when I say all, we're really talking about Carver and Scott counties more than anywhere. And as it continues to move, the severe thunderstorm warning is still valid for parts of Hennepin County until 1 a.m. for winds at 60 miles per hour, and the tornado warning for Carver and Hennepin until 12:45.
We'll get right back to that. I was going to go to the Northwest Metro. There's your severe thunderstorm warning. Medina, Long Lake, probably some hail in there as well. And it's that same storm we were talking about out of Rockford. There's also a flash flood warning.
We talked about, and this is where that core was.
This is where the core was. Reports
so
of
much rain.
Upwards of 2 inches of rain in just the last hour plus, from Buffalo to St. Michael to Montrose.
So many facets to this storm. I know it's late. Don't sleep on this storm. Do not sleep on this storm. Flash flood warnings up toward Buffalo can be perilous, dangerous, and fatal. The confirmed tornado warnings that are outlined in pink here from Carver and Scott County are still in place until 12:45. Again, this little dome here, that's the radar unit, and that is right next to Chanhassen High School. If you know this area of town, Chanhassen High School, there's a myriad of little tiny hamlets and towns all around here. Notice, Cody, and I will tell you, I want folks to know something here. The closer you get to radar, the less useful it is. And I think most folks think, well, that seems kind of weird. But the storms suddenly are over top of the radar beam. So the storms are here and the radar beam is shooting underneath them, because it's still, the radar beam will gain altitude the further away, gain height the further away from the Doppler unit it is. Right here we end up with this muddled little mess. See, there's nothing over top of the Doppler unit. That's something we actually call, it has a name because you're so close. It's called the cone of silence, because the Doppler beam can't shoot straight up to see what's over top. So we end up with this interpretive event right here over these 2 observed tornado warnings. And again, stretches from Minnetonka Beach all the way to just west of St. Bonnie, and then down to Pioneer Trail. That's the first tornado warning here for Carver and Scott County. Also extends toward Lake Minnetonka and across the city of Chanhassen. Using 212 now, they've shrank. Go a little bit further to the south. That second tornado warning has now been cut. So it is, see where it's bouncing right here? Yeah. So from Carver to Chaska, it is across Shakopee, and the next border is down toward Prior Lake. If there is an observed tornado in this storm, it is going to be somewhere along this line. I don't see a lot of great Doppler velocity couplets along this line?
A lot of them have fallen apart, which is great.
Great news.
But still, I mean, you saw how fast, if you've been watching us for at least a few minutes, you saw how fast the first ones crept up, and that's certainly something that could happen again.
I think it's closer to, at this point, I think it's closer to the leading edge here, where we start to pick up the velocity in and around Shakopee.
Yeah, and the cone of silence is taking effect.
Yeah, but I'm looking here towards Shakopee, because this is where we had the real definitive line coming in. I think Shakopee working all the way back up. Now we're way east of Victoria. We're starting to push into areas like Minnetonka and eventually Eden Prairie. I texted you saw me live on the air, text my wife and daughter, said basement please, and their immediate reply is we are in the basement, and my daughter is, my daughter's cat is under the blankets. By the way, Chrissy says we're doing a great job, so.
That's good.
If that's worth anything to you, it's worth a lot to me.
Hey, Hannah, let's just do this real quick for maybe 20 seconds. Can you pull up?
The show is outside.
Yeah, Cam 25. Just give us a live look from, this will be, I believe, from the station here in Eden Prairie.
Yeah, that's
you can actually see a little bit of lowering.
I don't like the looks of that
I don't either, but there is a lot of lightning.
Yeah, so here's what Cody's talking about. stalking a tornado at night, you have to have lightning, because I'm going to show you. See, right here's the cloud. Watch, the lightning will backlight it. So once it backlights it, you see these are clouds. You have a little lowering piece of the base right here. Then you end up with these little kind of shards dropping off. We call those scud clouds. They rip away and they get wisps, and it's kind of like watching somebody make cotton candy, and then it goes right back into the cloud. But this is over top of Eden. Well, there you go. That's the new tornado warning.
That is the new tornado warning.
And that is squarely here for Dakota, Hennepin, and Scott counties. It is talking about the possibility of a tornado along a line from Wayzata over to Shakopee. That's what we were just talking about. And along a line 14 miles west of Minneapolis to 18 miles southwest of Minneapolis. So this is what we were talking about.
Can we go back to weather too?
Yeah, but just keep looking right. Oh, you know, you're good. So,
sorry about that.
No, you're good. If you take off the scope for 30 seconds and just pull out, we can give people the idea of this tornado warning.
There you go.
So there's downtown Minneapolis. This entire area is now under a tornado warning. What are the different colors on the map? Where you see the pink outlines, those aren't just tornado warnings. Those are confirmed on the ground tornado warnings. Now, they are still in pink, and I will tell you, as much as I know that the sun is coming up in, I don't know, 6 hours, I will tell you this: the closer we are to the Doppler unit, and it's a frustration rate that also happens with our friends at the Weather Service, it gets harder and harder to see the storm the closer it is. See how clear it is right there? That's the cone of silence I was talking about. A little inside information. But from Waconia, now Waconia, you're out of it. You're pretty much rain-free at this point. There is the tornado warning here as it exists and pushes off to the west. That latest tornado warning that would have sent people just jolting in bed here from Minneapolis down toward Bloomington, all the way to the 35W split south of the metro, and then bending back here to the pink counties. Those pink counties are our confirmed tornadoes. This is a tornado warning for what is to come, for areas like Eden Prairie and Edina, for areas like Minnetonka, for areas like Hopkins, all the way into St. Louis Park, down toward Bloomington and Egan, and stretching down toward Prior Lake, and then back off here toward the Twin Cities International Airport, off toward downtown Minneapolis, and then here all the way back to the southwest into Eden Prairie. Again, the pink outline here indicates a confirmed tornado was on the ground. I don't have it right now that the tornadoes are still on the ground, but let's count them. We went from Norwood, Young America. We had a tornado on the ground. We had a tornado on the ground over the city of Waconia. We had a tornado on the ground near St. Bonnie and over top of Highway 7. And we have had reports of a tornado possible in and around Shakopee. All of that just in the last 15 to 20 minutes. So I guess what I would tell you here at 12:38, we're not going anywhere, and if you are nervous, stay with us. Our job here is to walk you through these storms and keep you ahead of the storm, keep you sky aware. You've heard me say it for 20-some years. That's what we're here for. That's our job tonight. Cody and myself, Hannah sitting in the director's chair, Melissa on our web team, and Leif, one of our fantastic producers in the booth. All of these people are working well past hours of employment, because this is a very important night when it comes to covering storms and trying to keep you ahead of the storm. So what you're looking at here, we talk about Doppler velocity. That's the ability for Doppler to notice if things are moving away or toward the Doppler unit. And once it notices those, doing it in a very confined area, we end up with something called gate-to-gate shear, or what you probably recognize as a Doppler indicated tornado warning. It doesn't mean there's a tornado on the ground. Instead, what we have had are more than 3 tornadoes so far tonight reported in the southwest metro. The tornado warning has been canceled for Carver. It continues for Scott until 12:45, only 6 minutes from now. So the tornado warning for Carver County has been canceled. It is still valid for Scott County, with a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado near Prior Lake. And Cody, this is a southern portion of that storm.
Yeah, it is.
So you come down toward Prior Lake right here, and I think what they're going to say is along this line. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
right in there.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So you see this decent little notch right here where we start to end up with these differing colors. Like when we talk about gate-to-gate shear, and Cody will outline it, right around here. So just off to the north and west of Prior Lake. It is now off to the south. So Highway 69 as it comes up here and then bends all the way and then goes over the Minnesota River Valley. That is it. So we're south of 169. We're southeast of Shakopee, and we're northwest of Prior Lake. That's where we have at least the possibility of a tornado. But that's all it is just a possibility of a tornado just off to the northwest of Prior Lake. And that tornado warning that is so large for Dakota, Hennepin, and Scott counties, that is something I want people to think about is not right now, is coming your way. And I don't mean tornadoes are coming your way. I'm talking about these very strong storms that have already produced tornadoes in parts of Scott and in parts of Carver County. Those very strong storms are about to come your way, now starting to move across portions of Hennepin County. We finally launched away from Maple Grove. So here's Eden Prairie. Obviously, you can see that. And there's Shakopee, where we had the dangerous twist of the storm over top.
Yeah, I was actually just looking at, I was trying to find the original. So you see the couplet there?
Yeah.
I was seeing if it kind of passed the cone of silence.
Where'd it go?
It disappeared, which is great. So I think those have actually fallen apart, and I think it's now going to be mostly leading edge stuff. So it's going to be out here. So still that one near Prior Lake. Let's zoom in on that one.
Yeah, I think south and east of Eden Prairie as well. But yeah, no, let's get down to Prior Lake. Absolutely. So when you start to think about, I mean,
just south of 169.
Yeah, here's Eagle Creek, and you see that real pink area right here. That's a decent little couplet. Yeah. There's a good little notch right here just north of 154th Street Northwest.
Yeah. Awesome.
All of these are areas even here starting to see. I was talking about south and east of Eden Prairie.
Yep.
See, just here. I think all of these represent, I know all of these represent an incredible twist and turn on Doppler radar. They don't represent the fact that there's a tornado on the ground. They represent a very strong storm which could easily pop a very short-lived but very strong tornado here all in the next few hours. The tornado warning has now been expired, Cody, for Carver and Hennepin County.
So that's the confirmed tornado warning we had earlier.
Yep.
So that's the pink shade. Actually, just getting some reports from the National Weather Service. Just north of Eden Prairie High School, a report of a wall cloud coming right overhead.
Well, that's what we just saw on camera.
Yeah.
Hey, Hannah, can we, yeah, gosh, she's reading my mind. I love it. Here it is. This is, so if you know Eden Prairie, that's the Eden Prairie Water Tower. This is from our camera at the Twin Cities Broadcast Center in Eden Prairie. You have to look carefully to see in the background if we can see anything.
I'm not sure. Honestly, it might be right over our station at this point.
I know we got somebody in, do we have folks in TOC? I think we have folks in TOC who might be able to spin that camera and spin it off to our south. Right now it's looking southwest. Thanks, Leif. Leif tells me in his ear that he's working on it. Right now we're looking southwest. Obviously we want to try and spin that because that lowering of the clouds that we saw, just like the Weather Service was talking, a wall cloud, well, we literally saw that here on the air. Now if we can get that spun, and I'll tell you, let's go off this camera, and Leif, again, I can't thank everybody on the other side of the, we're the people who are, Cody and I are out front, but there are so many people behind the scenes, and we have some of the best in the industry here at Fox 9, and they're working late for you and me and Cody's family and my family. Think about this. Our families are at home right now. We want to make sure that everybody is safe. So let's come off this and go back to Weather 1. Come back to Weather 1 to give you a big picture view. So there it is. So the tornado warning for Carver and Hennepin that you see flashing here until 12:45, that expires in a minute. That one is done. It was flashing pink because of the confirmed tornadoes on the ground in Norwood, Young America, Waconia, and just south of St. Bonnie. So that flashing pink one is finished. Now I'm going to move forward in time here in space and talk about this latest tornado warning. That is the large black box right here, and it is very large. So if you're in the metro, your alarm went off. So follow my line here, downtown Minneapolis, down toward the 35 split, back toward Shakopee, and then up and around Lake Minnetonka. That is the next tornado warning that takes effect. That is in place until 1 a.m. So only 16 minutes from now. And I think what you'll get the idea here with the Weather Service is the thinking that these are very quick hitters, very quick spinners. And at one point we had 3 confirmed on the ground at one time here out toward Carver and Scott County, and those are both gone. The latest now is this tornado warning. See the red shading in the background? There, you see it dropped off at 12:45. Severe thunderstorm warning flashing in yellow and black. That's for only a portion of Hennepin County here. Doesn't even reach downtown Minneapolis and then stretches off into Wright County. It's very small. That severe thunderstorm warning is in place until 1 a.m. Tornado warning now valid for Dakota, Hennepin, and Scott counties until 1 a.m. And you'll notice something. Once the Doppler beam in these storms are now to the east of the Doppler, notice what we were talking about all night long. That core, Cody, is starting to make yet another appearance.
Yes.
And that core is decent. I know, I just want to check my phone so that we can, I want to make sure that we're in touch. I know Keith Marler was trying to get a hold of us.
Yes.
He didn't have a chance.
And if you want to take advantage of this, Hannah, and take Cam 25, we pointed our station camera due south, so not seeing a lowering necessarily, but certainly lots of thunder, lots of lightning, some very heavy rain, some very heavy downpours, blinding in a lot of cases. But with this particular line in the Southwest Metro, it will be fairly brief because it's moving. It's picked up forward speed and
finally
picked up forward speed and moving along.
Look, the quicker we can get this in and out, the less chance there is of long-lived tornadoes.
Yes.
So that's good news. That's why I said finally, because this storm has been moving. Well, it hasn't. It basically stalled over top of the Northwest Metro.
Yes.
Now you're looking live. That's a live shot from our tower camera here in the Twin Cities. We have shifted, Leif, great job. We have shifted that. That is looking off to the GE Test Center. So that's highway, that's 494 that you're looking at. So this is right here. This is 494. And now you're looking from the Twin Cities Broadcast Center. You're looking off to the south and to the east. And that's where the focus is for the storms. Awesome job, Leif and Hannah and everybody in TOC. Come back to me to Weather 1. So that's looking off to the southeast. So from the Twin Cities Broadcast Center in Eden Prairie, we're about here. That view you were just looking was here. Just as the leading edge of these storms is now about to pass 169. So if you're in Edina, if you're in St. Louis Park, I just heard from Don Mitchell, said everything, she's in her basement, and everything's cool. Don, we love you. Thank you for sending kudos out to us. The line of this storm is now starting to pick up forward pace. How long did we expect? I mean, Cody, when we first came on the air with the severe thunderstorm warning, we thought, wow, this is moving forward. It's going to be in downtown Minneapolis in 20 minutes. That's 2 hours ago.
Yeah, it's taken forever.
Finally into downtown Minneapolis with the very heavy, if not blinding rain, the thunder and the lightning. But right now, downtown Minneapolis has escaped anything from this tornado warning. It will have some blustery winds along the front of this, more of a gust front than anything. I think 40-mile-per-hour winds are a decent estimate here looking at radar. Then that line continues. So it continues down through Edina.
Ooh,
yeah, go ahead.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Can you switch over to weather too? I've got an area of concern I don't like. So this is actually going through Savage right now, northern Prior Lake. Got that little notch
Right
in
here.
it right in there.
Yeah.
So it's heading essentially eastward towards Burnsville. I actually just texted my spouse to have him go to the basement with the dog.
So there you get the idea.
Yeah.
I'm texting my family in Eden Prairie 15 minutes ago because of the tornado warning and the tornado on the ground. Cody is now texting his husband here in Burnsville and saying, dude, it's time for you to get down as well. So this is something for us. And you know, after doing this 34 years, you do it enough times and you realize this doesn't just affect people you don't know. It actually affects the people you do know and the people who trust to watch us each and every day. Cody, I like where you're going with the inflow notch there. So let's say this. This is all a part of the tornado warning here. There's 35W and here's 35E. If you are in Burnsville, if you are in Savage, anywhere along and south of 101, once you come away from, you know, Mystic Lake, once you come away from area. Valley Fair, this is an area of concern for us now in towards Savage and Burnsville.
Yeah, it appears to be right along the Prior Lake border. So there's a Hy-Vee right there. There's a Target right there if you're kind of in that neck of the woods and pushing eastward. Basically from kind of that Hy-Vee Target area over to kind of the Burnsville Center area, then northward to Highway 13. That's my neck of the woods. I go through there all the time.
And you got it. You got it. Can you do me a favor?
Sure.
Let's just slide up into more heavily populated areas for a split second.
Sure.
By the way, Savage and Burnsville, I'm not going to forget about you. We're coming back. So as you start to come up, when we talk about all of this ragtag line, I'll tell you, it ends up being a bunch of analogous propagation, if you will, Cody, right? It's just kind of a lot of ground clutter here.
It's a lot of blobs.
Yeah, a lot of blobs, not much going on.
Which
now
is
slide
great.
me back to Eden Prairie really quickly. Let's just check and see what's going on where that core is. So these are some very strong, vibrant winds lashing down at the ground on the backside of this storm.
Yeah, for
when
sure.
you come down toward Eden Prairie, Flying Cloud Drive, and then up toward 169. Now let's scoot down toward just east of Shakopee. There's not an awful lot here, but when you come here just to the west of Savage, decent little couplet here just to the south of that 169 corner where it turns, you know, you come down, it's either 169 or 13.
So true.
And there's no choice. You keep going straight, you're gonna have a bit of a problem. I've done that. I've been like, which way are we going? So Cody was talking about Savage into Burnsville. Highway 13. Here's Highway 13. There's downtown Savage. Here's Burnsville. So you get all these little flecks right here. I think if there is a decent area, it's here. Once we start to pick up a little green in the red, if that were to tighten up, that would obviously be the co-location.
And honestly, that is almost just outside of the tornado warning itself.
Well, we had this earlier.
Yeah.
You know, we were, well, I don't know, people at home can't hear it, but here at the Twin Cities Broadcast Center,
there's so much thunder.
it's booming to beat the band outside.
I think it's actually shaking the building.
I mean, ostensibly, we're in a massive warehouse, and it's just booming in a big way, but that's fine. And know this, we have a place to go.
We do.
If things get dangerous here at the station, we also have a place to go that's safe, where we can keep our microphones on and continue to cover all of you by using iPads and things like that out of the Twin Cities Broadcast studios. So just know that that is, you know, we're not just staying here to be brave souls. We're here because we need to be here. We have to be here. Savage into Burnsville. Cody just switched a little bit. I think we're getting pretty murky. There's still a little bit of an inflow area here.
Oh, that's good. May have actually lost it. That's great.
Yeah, if that's the case, that's wonderful. Hi, Jeff. Everything's going to be fine. So let's go big picture view for a second.
Sure.
Just pull out. So again, if you're in Burnsville and Savage, this is a nasty storm. It is right over top of you, and it is going to roll very quickly with strong winds and some blinding rain and thunder and lightning like you can't believe, because we're getting it here right now. And you know, you always think of dogs and youngsters who don't have a chance to understand exactly what this is. It is problematic for everybody.
So we are now almost to 3 inches of rain in Hanover.
It's
so
incredible,
that's
right?
Yeah, northwestern Hennepin County with that storm. So there's just a lot of water coming in with this.
I would imagine this flash flood warning here that is out for parts of Wright County. And you know, people will say, well, wait a minute, why are you talking about a flash flood warning? Flooding and lightning are two of the biggest killers in the weather community, especially flash floods that happen oh so fast. That flash flood warning includes the city of Buffalo, works up toward Elk River. I surmise, just from what we've been doing in the last while, that flash flood warnings will probably start to migrate their way down to where that storm just didn't move forever, Cody, over top of Maple Grove,
100%.
down toward Ono. That's just my overall thoughts right now.
But there is
a thunderstorm warning still out for the city of Minneapolis, and a new one has just been issued. See it flashing in black there? That is a new severe. We just took a power hit here.
I think we did.
Wow, the TV's all turned off for a sec. That's the new severe thunderstorm warning. That is from downtown Minneapolis, across St. Paul and off to the south.
Apologies, I took the boxes off here.
No, you're good. So into areas like Cottage Grove, almost into areas like Afton and Sunfish Lake and the Twin Cities International Airport. So that is the latest, a severe thunderstorm warning now for basically the entire eastern portion of the metro, for Dakota, Hennepin, and Ramsey counties until 1:15. We still have the tornado warning. It is a Doppler indicated tornado warning, but it's more than that. This is, and I don't use this term lightly, so I want everybody to know that. But in terms of meteorology, once you have 3 tornadoes on the ground and that storm's continuing to roll and grow, you have to make sure that you issue a tornado warning downstream, just to let everybody know that there has already been tornadoes on the ground, and we want you to pay attention. So this is ostensibly a Doppler indicated tornado warning that is still in place until 1 a.m., 6 minutes from now. No more spin-ups. They'll let that tornado warning go, and then we'll concentrate here on the severe thunderstorm warning that is rolling across the metro. You can see where the super convective nature of this storm is.
Man.
And Cody, look how the core is transferred.
Seriously.
And I bet if you scan that, it is the brightest green, and it will almost look, and it's not, but it'll almost represent the way, like, and this is just Ian and Cody talk, a wake low.
A little bit, yeah.
You know, like a wake low pulls and it just slams down along the ground. There's a possibility of some very strong winds in Eden Prairie. My wife and daughter are in the basement, but Christy and Gato, if you want to give me an update on my phone, that'd be great. We have all these deputized weather watchers in our families that are all over the place. By the way, shout out to Mark from the Noble Lion. You know, that strong storm came right over top of your house and right over top of Victoria, and it's he just got to me on the phone. It's important to know that we know that we're being watched by these people that we know, but being watched by millions of other people who are nervous tonight, and rightfully so. We have no tornadoes on the ground right now. The severe thunderstorm warning is out for Hennepin, Dakota, Hennepin and Ramsey, and that tornado warning that is out for a good portion of the west-southwest metro is about to expire here in 4 minutes. How about this report from Norwood Young America, Cody? $half size hail. Yeah. That was 12 minutes ago. That's a report time, not what time the hail actually happened. But that was exactly where we had the location of one of the confirmed tornadoes in and around Norwood Young America about 35 minutes ago. What Cody's doing here with the Doppler velocity scan, we're searching. Because in a tornado warning, a Doppler indicated tornado warning, there isn't anywhere where the tornado actually is. Instead, we start to look. We're looking for velocity. We're looking for inbound and outbound velocities, what we call gate-to-gate shear. That gate-to-gate shear is measured in knots, and any boaters out there, it's 55 knots inbound and outbound velocities. So once we pick that up on radar, we can say, well, there it is. Give you there it is. There's where the tornado would be if there's a tornado involved in this storm. I think in many ways tonight, Cody, you and I have just sort of given a synoptic weather class on all of the.
Yes, and there will be a test coming up tomorrow.
We've spilled a lot of stuff tonight.
We have.
But I mean, that enables us to, you know, dip into our past and our education and pull it forward so we can talk to you about these storms. So the Doppler indicated warning has not expired yet. It will expire in about 2 minutes. My daughter Katie, her name's Katie, I call her Katie Cat, so I call her Gato. Says everything's good in Eden Prairie, they're fine. The severe thunderstorm warning for Hennepin County is out until 1 a.m. That's what you see flashing right here. It is continued for the possibility of winds at 60+ miles per hour. I mentioned the $half size hail that was measured in Norwood Young America, where we had a tornado on the ground. And the tornado warning for Dakota, Hennepin, and Scott until 1 a.m. It's just a big line of very powerful storms moving to the east at now 35 miles per hour. So, you know, we went from the storms almost came right up to the northwest metro and slammed on the brakes. It was a bizarre holding pattern. You heard us talking about it for about half an hour. Now that holding pattern is obviously finished as these storms race across the Twin Cities metro. Forward speed between 25 and 35 miles per hour. In general, that means the core of the strongest portion of the storm will be out of the loop, 494, 694 loop here in about another 20 minutes. Just to give people in the East Metro an idea, we are watching for you. Downtown St. Paul, this storm is now on top of you. It is a severe thunderstorm warning, blinding rain right here. Convective nature in the core of the storm has come through Eden Prairie. It is advancing across 169 here, Southwest Metro. This gives you an idea. There's 494. That core, the bright white, will advance here along 494 toward Bloomington into areas like Edina's right here. So from Eden Prairie toward Edina, toward Bloomington, then eventually in toward areas like Egan, and then up toward areas. If this thing can kick a little further to the north, we'll talk about a highly populated area all around Twin Cities International. So I'm going to keep an eye on that core. That severe thunderstorm warning you see flashing in black, that is in place until 1:15. That's why I said St. Paul, you're looking for about another 20 minutes. This is all some very heavy rain. The normal culprits at this time of year that flood, you're like, oh, that's Bob's property. It's always underwater. Or that on and off ramp always floods. Remember, we had that earlier this week with the very heavy rains and the flash flood warning for the entire metro. Those areas are going to be underwater once again because we have yet to dry out from the 3, 4, 5-inch rainfall readings we had come through midweek. That severe thunderstorm warning in place until 1:15, and that's what's flashing black.
There we go. So we've the tornado warning has expired. That's good. So
yes.
No more tornado warnings. The original severe thunderstorm warning for the northwestern metro until 1 a.m. also expiring now. So now we have the two warnings. The severe thunderstorm warning for downtown Minneapolis through much of St. Paul and into parts of northern Dakota County. And then that flash flood warning for sections of Sherburne and Wright County, now getting reports over 3 inches of rain.
Wow.
Just in the last couple of hours as that storm sat there for a while. But even as these storms kind of roll through quickly, Minnetonka reporting over 1 inch of rain, and that's been in the last 30 minutes.
But think about this. Think about how inundated we are with rain over the last 7 days. And the record rainfalls we had midweek. We put another 1 or 2 inches onto the metro area here, Cody. We're going to have some major flooding problems.
Yeah, there's a lot of water out there, and there's even more rain behind it now. Thankfully, most of this rain is actually fairly light. If you look back off to the west from Watertown to Hutchinson, Brownton, those are all non-severe thunderstorms, just generic rain, but just adding insult to injury.
Yeah, big rumbling rainers. So many updates. My buddy Nick, is a good buddy of mine, says they were in the basement in Orono. They're fine. They enacted their weather plan. You know how much I love to hear that people have something that they can go, oh, okay, we got to do this, snap into it. Our friend Bill Snodgrass, my buddy John Brownlee out in the West Metro, all of these people who are saying, hey, you know, it's 1 o'clock on a Saturday morning. I know most of these people. They're usually in bed hours ago. So to have those people tell me that they're fine and everything is fine in their area, that sets my mind a little bit at ease, because when we talk about the 3 tornadoes that were reported on the ground in Norwood, Young America, in the city of Waconia, and then north of Victoria and southeast of St. Bonnie along Highway 7, all of those particular areas. We don't have storm reports yet. We have confirmed tornadoes that were on the ground, but I love hearing from my friends who are in those areas, and they say we're all good, we're all safe. And that means, I think, Cody, that, you know, we feel better about what we're doing here. Yes,
and we actually just got a report from MSP Airport of 48-mile-an-hour gust just in the last 5 minutes or so.
So think about that.
Yeah, so still gusty winds for sure on the kind of the leading edge of this as it continues to push across portions of the heart of the metro, and then
so you look at MSP right around here.
Eventually to the East Metro.
Yeah, so downtown St. Paul, you're not getting the big time winds. Big time winds will be closer, but not right along the leading edge here. So we're crossing here into Stillwater. We're pushing into Marina on the St. Croix. We're pushing into Hudson, soon to be in Inver Grove Heights, down toward Afton, parts of Dakota County, and eventually Goodhue County as we work all along the Mississippi River Valley. Again, if you're in these areas and you haven't done so already, because you've been watching the coverage, you're trying to find out what's going on, check your sump pump. If you've got a sump pump, just kind of like give it one of the, for me, I just kind of hear it rumble every once in a while. I go, okay, it's working. I'll be fine. Because a flooded basement is an awful thing.
Agreed. And if we want to actually take one of the jam cams.
Yeah, what do you got?
Highway 62 at Bloomington Road. Yeah,
it's that wind-whipped rain that we talked about.
That is a lot of rain. That is some very heavy rain. Crosstown and Bloomington Road.
Look at the rain coming along the road right now. It's incredible.
So some big time rain.
Yeah, easily winds at 40 plus at 62 and Bloomington Road. But you know, you think about it, why isn't there much traffic? Oh, I know, Cody.
Because it's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Because it's 1 o'clock in the morning. And this is what we do. And some folks, I've heard for years, just as an aside, people will say, oh, you'd love to be there. I'm like, I would love to be with my wife right now, who is away for the last week. And tonight we were going to just have a little come together and kind of hang out night. We're here because this is probably the most important thing we do in our careers, to make sure that we're here on the air for you during severe weather. It's not when it's sunny and 70 and we're having fun on TV. It's about nights like tonight, with tornadoes in the Southwest Metro and very strong storms continuing to roll across the greater metro. This is the greatest thing we can do in our meteorological careers, and it's an honor that people trust us to do this and tune to us when strong storms roll across the metro. So Hannah, do me a favor. Let's roll off the jam cam. You look at it, just rip it along the roadway, and come back to weather 1, if you would, for the severe thunderstorm warning, because the one thing you'll notice, it's starting to pull. So as we trim the back of this warning, we don't have anything new out to the east-southeast. That doesn't mean this isn't a strong storm. It means we're looking at it for perhaps another warning off to the east-southeast. So downtown Minneapolis, the booming and the bright lights, the thunder and the lightning is absolutely rocking downtown Minneapolis. St. Paul, only a few lightning bolts right now, but that entire line is going to work across. Of course, this comes with the possibility of hail. We have had silver dollar hail reports. That's 1 1/4 inch hail size. We've had reports upwards of 1 inch of rain. So some localized flooding, ponding on roadways, on and off ramps. All of that is also a part of this ball game tonight. But that severe thunderstorm warning is in place for another 10 minutes. Another 10 minutes. That severe thunderstorm warning is in place until 1:15 for Dakota, Hennepin, and Ramsey counties. There's an FLS product out. Did you see that, Cody?
I did. I'm kind of looking through some of that at the moment.
Okay. We're just talking about the possibility of floods and flash floods and how much rain we've had. You know, you think back to where we were midweek and we had flooding all over the place. Flooding inundates the rain sewers, the storm sewers. It will eventually drain away, but it's when it's all inundated at the same time that it's not going anywhere for some 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes. So if you do have plans to drive tonight, maybe you're one of those workers like us who's got to get to wherever their job is at 1 o'clock in the morning. If you're one of those folks, then you're going to have to play it safe on the roads and really pay attention to ponding on the roadways tonight. Boy, it's the first time all night we've seen this. And people say, oh my gosh, it's a green dot. And I'll tell you what a green dot means. It means that this is a thunderstorm. It is a strong thunderstorm, but it is not anything more than that. But it really gives you a hint with our tracking fan. And remember, I've said this before with our tracking fan on the line. It's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and 30 minutes. So downtown St. Paul, the strongest core of this storm that's rolling across the metro, it's in downtown St. Paul in the next 10 minutes. It's just to the north and east of Inver Grove Heights as we work through the next 30 minutes. And look, the rain has finally reached Stillwater. The lightning has not. The lightning is on its way with the very heavy rains. So I'm just looking at some of the storm reports here. So 3 miles to the southeast of Waconia is when the reported tornado touched 1216.
Yeah, I'm looking at those right now. So it appears that the actual reports of the tornadoes were not in the cities themselves.
No, they were southeast.
Yeah, doesn't mean that they didn't impact the city itself. But I'm looking at the geolocation of some of the reports that appear to be mostly in very rural areas,
which is great news, right?
Yeah.
When you really think about it, if you can do that, and everybody's fine. And look, we're always sympathetic to our farming friends and what goes on in the fields and maybe some outbuildings and stuff. That's awful too. But if we can keep these tornadoes away from populated centers, not keep them, if we can track them and they're not away from and they are away from populated centers, then we feel much better. And I think everybody should too. But in some small way, you always think about what about the guy whose field the tornado went through and ripped up all the crops and the seeds? it stayed away from populated centers, at least at this point until we get to the light of day tomorrow. There's the severe thunderstorm warning, and that is outlined here in orange. That's from downtown Minneapolis through St. Paul. Once you get from 694 here, so you come so Blaine's right up here. So once you come south of Blaine, that's the severe thunderstorm warning. It is in place until 1:15. My watch is telling me that lightning struck 12 miles southeast of my current location. My current location is right here in Eden Prairie. There's your 12 miles southeast. So this is, I don't think these are strictly elevated storms, like a big rumbling rainer kind of night, Cody. We're talking about lightning strikes.
Yeah.
12 miles to the southeast of Eden Prairie. That would put it into, areas like Prior Lake or maybe even Burnsville.
100%.
Yeah. So there is that line of lightning stretching from Burnsville all the way up to Minneapolis, and this little tiny severe thunderstorm warning in place for another 6 minutes. I will tell you this. Once we get through this last severe thunderstorm warning, we will probably begin to pull back from our coverage as these storms will slowly move down the mighty Mississippi and off to the southeast. Here's the big picture view. There is the severe thunderstorm watch. It's in place until 5 a.m. It includes the metro, but as these storms pass through it, this whole area of the severe thunderstorm watch, it will get trimmed back, and it will get trimmed back and trimmed back as the storms race off to the east. There is an interesting thing to notice here, Cody. That line of storms that was coming across the Minnesota River Valley, it makes this huge turn and it's diving off to the south. That's going to become a storm for, well, figure this one, Storm Lake, Iowa, northwest Iowa. But as the storms are coming through and dropping the inordinate amounts of rain here in the metro, there is this line. Watch that line just south. That's the line that's going through Burnsville and is advancing to areas like Faribault and across I-35. To the north, this is northern cabin country for our friends in Wisconsin. I'll outline it for you so you can see. You get this big bowing line here. There's easily winds at 30, 40, perhaps 60 mile per hour winds, but less than severe parameters. That's why we don't see any warnings posted on the storms that are rolling through parts of northern and northwest Wisconsin. So there it is, one single severe thunderstorm warning in place until 1:15. It is about to expire. I want to take you a little further south and give you an idea on that line I was just talking about. See that line right here? This is an area that hasn't had any storms. So once you go from Northfield to Owatonna and you start to pick up the area here between the Mississippi and I-35, this is a zone that hasn't had any storms tonight. None of the reserves of storm fuel have been used up. It's still playing, and this is a terrible word. We use it, but most people go, oh, gross. The atmosphere is still very juicy. It is still ripe with fuel, and it will stay that way as this storm approaches I-35. What you see pick up here at the very end of that loop, that is a hail core that is coming toward Northfield here in the next 30 minutes. One lone severe thunderstorm warning on the map, and there it is, flashing right across the metro. It is in place till 1:15. Currently, we're at 1:12. We have 3 so far tornado confirmations on the ground in parts of Carver and Carver. No, it was all Carver County.
Carver County.
Was the one that was south just barely into Scott County, or were they all Carver? Anyway, doesn't matter. We'll figure it out in the light of day tomorrow. Of an extremely busy night, waiting for those storms that parked themselves in the northwest metro for what seemed an eternity. And once they hit the gas, man, they raced across the metro, dropping the tornadoes and the tornado warnings. One single severe thunderstorm warning left. It expires in 2 minutes. This line of storms is still very strong here from Lakeville. And I really feel like I want to talk about this more, Cody, from Lakeville, stretching down I-35. So there's Lakeville, and watch as these storms make an approach. That strong core we were talking about is here. So if you're in Northfield, Elko, Newmarket, Northfield, all the way down to Dundas, into Faribault, and then south toward Owatonna, this is an area I need you to stay sky aware as we work through the rest of the evening. Look, this is an area where strong storms are going to come ripping through. These are very narrow storms. They exist over the plane of about 5 to 7 miles. They'll hit very quick, and they will be gone equally as fast. Elko Newmarket, Northfield, Dundas, Faribault, you are all under the weather gun here as we push through the next 30 to 45 minutes. It's 1:13. The severe thunderstorm warning is in place until 1:15. We have no further reports of anything in the metro. I'm correct in assuming that, right, Cody?
That is correct. I have not seen anything, which is good. I just checked wind reports. Getting looks like peak gust at MSP Airport was at 49 miles an hour. Just got a update from downtown St. Paul, so Holman Field, 54 miles an hour.
Wow.
So we're still getting some solid gusts in that storm itself. Let's see if I can pull here. Let's see if we can pull up a jam cam and see if we can see anything real quick from the not only downtown St. Paul area, but areas farther to the east.
I'm going to just give this thing a quick slice so we can, I mean, you know, when we had the strongest portion of the storms, basically what I did here is I took the storm and treated it like a cake, and I sliced it and I kind of opened it up. You know, when we look at, these are now what we would classify, so these are 10 to 20,000 feet. We would classify these primarily with the cores that high as low top storms. Then you start to get a little higher as they start to dissipate, 30,000+ feet. But these are not the big, these are not the droids you're looking for. These are not the storms you're looking for if you're trying to find big, wild, destructive storms. These aren't them. But there you get an idea with the range height indicator. And I can make this go through the entire storm. Now, I talked about the core that was still intact. Watch, these are all about 20,000 feet. Wait for it. See that core? Cody, look at this look at this core.
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
So that's the one. So to give you an idea, this, as you're looking at the metro, there's 35 and there's the split. There's 35W, there's 35E, and you just talked about what was happening over downtown St. Paul. That's pretty much it right there.
Yeah.
So that is a massive storm still that is topping out at 40,000+ feet. This is a big core, and there is some hail obviously confined here, but I will tell you, this core has to collapse at some point. It is not collapsing right now. You come down that line, and all of those storms are kind of topping out at around 20 to 30,000 feet, other than that massive core right there in downtown St. Paul. Interesting, too, when you can slice up a storm like that. That's something that's called, just another one for everyone. It's called a range height indicator. That gives us an idea. Oh, there is a new severe thunderstorm warning. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, there is.
So
it's probably for this. You want to take a jam cam real quick? This is Sunfish Lakes. So this is right along 494 and Robert Street, and something we've seen similar across a lot of the metro. And I think these are the little pockets that are going to produce those 50, 55 mile an hour wind gusts. And I'm sure one of the main reasons why the new severe thunderstorm warning for the East Metro has been issued, along obviously with the 54 mile an hour gust at Holman Field, as this whole storm system still has these little pockets and little perturbations that kind of roll through these systems. So you may get a bunch of rain. It may be pretty quiet at your house. You're like, okay, I'm not really seeing the wind. There's a lot of bark and not much bite. And then suddenly you're slammed with one of those and you get a quick gust of 45 or 50 or 55 miles an hour. And that's kind of how these have performed this evening.
Sneaky storms.
Yeah, they are kind of sneaky.
Yeah. You get the big booms and the thunder and the lightning and the very heavy rain, and you're dealing with winds at 20 to 30 miles per hour. And like Cody just said, all of a sudden there's a wind up and it's a 45 mile per hour wind gust, and you're like, what's going on? And that's the reason we're on the air right now. And that's some very heavy rain on 494 once you start getting out to Robert Street, out toward South St. Paul.
Yeah, that's some big rain.
Okay, so if you come back to weather one, please, Hannah, and that'll give you an idea. Here's the latest severe thunderstorm warning. It is in place until 2 a.m. and is for a chunk of counties, multiple slices of counties here. So it is off to the east of downtown St. Paul. It is for portions, and it is a thin portion here of Dakota County, portions of Dakota, Ramsey, St. Croix, and Washington County. So you get the idea here. Now that we start talking about St. Croix, we will eventually talk about this storm moving across the St. Croix. We will talk about this storm moving across the Mississippi here in the next 30 30 minutes. Once these storms roll out of this heavily populated area here, they will become some rather big raining rumblers. Rainy rumblers with winds at 30 to 40 miles per hour is a probability as they continue to work off to the east. And because of that, I will tell you that in about the next half hour, we'll probably start winding down, Cody.
Yeah, for sure.
I tell you that because I don't think I'm going to have a voice tomorrow. But wait a minute, tomorrow is today.
Whoa, yay.
That's great. It's going to be fun to be on the air tomorrow night. I'll be a little tiny hint of a whisper. But, you know, think about a night like tonight versus where we're headed in the calendar toward what is ostensibly a big outdoor time of year, the July 4th holiday, with a lot of people at lakes and cabins. By the way, I heard from my friend Kevin Kramer. They're right near St. Michael tonight. Yeah. And he said they were quite nervous.
I bet.
And so it was nice to have us on the air. And you know, you think about St. Bonnie and St. Michael and that whole Highway 7 area where we had the tornadoes touch down. It's one of the reasons that we were on the air and stayed on the air as these storms came across the metro.
So the National Weather Service actually confirming 4.
Oh, 4 now, okay.
4.
And those are all confirmed by TDS.
Yes.
Which is what we were talking about here on the air.
100%.
That Doppler signature.
So yeah, so now the Weather Service confirms them by Doppler, and then they will head out to those areas tomorrow to do essentially a storm report or a storm write-up to see, in fact, yes, there was a tornado or no, and if there was, how strong it was and what it impacted.
I'm telling you, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
This isn't supposed to sound as stupid as it is.
Go on.
But dude, we nailed those. That was such great work with the tornado, with the Doppler velocity, and being able to dial inside those storms as they were live.
It's very helpful, and it's honestly very helpful to have 2 of us, because just one of us alone, it makes it far more difficult.
Yeah, no, this is the new tag team. This is the new heavyweight champ. No.
Tag team back again. No?
No. Oh, no.
That was all I was going to sing.
No, we don't sing.
Okay. Good to know.
You're going back to the 90s.
That was the 90s.
Wow. Okay, severe thunderstorms still in place for Dakota, Ramsey, St. Croix, and Washington. I think you get the idea. We are getting, not just because we've been on the air for a very long time, but because we are almost at the point where we can say, there will be storms, there will be rainy rumblers, as I like to call them. There will be wind gusts at 30+ miles per hour. But at this point, we are very close to calling our storm coverage and being able to walk away and say, wow, we were glad we were here for you tonight, very late on a Saturday night, now a very early Sunday morning. I will tell you this, I'm disappointed we couldn't get Keith Marler on there. I don't know what happened there.
I don't either.
He's not very good with technology.
I just thought he butt dialed me personally, but because he called my phone, before he called yours.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and that's when, you know, Keith's up in that kind of Plymouth, Maple Grove, the northwest section of the metro, and you know, that was when the strongest portion of the storms were coming over there, and you know, God bless him, because Keith is going to be in here in a couple of hours, because Keith is doing the Sunday morning news with Leah Bino.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
5.
What?
The National Weather Service confirming 5 TDS.
Okay, so where's the 5th?
So we have
Victoria, St. Bonnie, Waconia.
Yep.
Waconia.
Two around Waconia.
Yeah.
And then 1 near Cologne.
Man, we were on that.
Yeah, all of them in Carver County.
Yeah, Cologne's right on the southern kind of branch.
Yeah.
That's great. Cody, awesome job tonight, man. It's just an absolute pleasure to be on the air with you. I wouldn't want it any other way.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I know. Just a tremendous job. Okay, so severe thunderstorm warning here as the core of this storm is now passing through downtown St. Paul. It is about to pass across the 694 corridor, and then you start to look at I-94 here that heads off into central Wisconsin. So the marine on the St. Croix, Stillwater, New Richmond, down toward Hudson. This is now your storm squarely in this severe thunderstorm warning. That warning in place until 2 a.m. Lakeville, this storm is almost past you, but down toward Elko Newmarket and areas like Faribault, there is a fast-moving storm that will come through so very quick. Cody, look at this loop really quick. This is something we identified earlier, the big spin of the MCV. Watch the spin right here. There it is right there. And we said this is probably going to come together right over top of the metro. Darn if that thing didn't spin and come together here right over top of the metro. And that's why that northern storm stalled so long.
Yeah, and that the southern line caught up to it, and that's what you get. When you get two storms converging, suddenly you get a mix of spin and weird things happen, and you get essentially 5 quick spin-ups.
All in Carver County.
All in Carver County.
Wow. You know, that I don't try and talk to people or talk for people or surmise people's thoughts, but I will tell you, if you've ever been in bed and your phone for a tornado warning lights up and rings, if you've got the Fox 9 weather app, it's awesome because you heard it here in the studio and our phones all go off. It can be an incredible jarring moment.
Oh man,
when you're asleep.
It jarred me and I was awake. I even knew what was happening and my phone rang. The Weather Service was actually just talking about one of those tornado reports.
See this?
With, trees were blocking Highway 7 completely from Minnewashta Parkway to Rolling Acres Road.
Okay, so remember we were on the air and I was talking about trying to get around Lake Waconia.
Yeah.
And where Island View Golf Course is there, and you move up to the north, and Minnewashta Parkway is a little bit further back to the east. And we were talking about Highway 7 when it was south, the tornado was south of St. Bonnie. That's amazing that Highway 7 completely blocked by trees on the roadway from Minnewashta Parkway to Rolling Acres Road. That's and you know, that's not far from my buddy Kevin Kramer. I said they were getting a little nervous. That's it's off to the east of their location near St. Michael. But you know, when you're out you're out in the country and you know, there's a lot of trees. It's dark and there's these, you know, those gentle rolling hills west of the metro. It can be a real daunting task. I mean, what is your? I think right now is a good point for a public service announcement. What is your personal storm plan? You hear me say it on the air all the time. What is your personal storm plan? Once the kids wake up or the dog jumps on the bed, your phone with the Fox 9 weather app blares.
Ooh, that scared me.
Wow, did you just see me jump?
Yeah.
Holy bolt of lightning. That was thunder like, wow. Okay, get rid of those goosebumps. Here's what I would tell you when it comes to your personal storm plan and having it ready to go, because when the phone goes off and there's a tornado warning in your area, you don't have time to go, where should we go? What should we do? And I tell people all the time, you take the kids, you make them the storm captain of your house so that they feel in charge, so they're not as scared of the storm. The storm captains know where everyone's supposed to go. Okay, everyone, the phones have gone off. We're all a little bit scared. We're a little bit tired. Follow me. We're going into the basement, or we're going into the closet or into the bathroom away from windows. Your personal storm plan is really important, and I don't think a lot of people have discussed it with their family. Everybody in the house knows to know what to do. That's my public service announcement.
It was a good announcement.
Yeah,
I agree with it. I would want to pass something along. So I just actually got a text from Amy Hawkert about 10 minutes ago. She says 2 parents, 2 kids, 1 grandma, 2 dogs, 1 cat emerging from the closet under the stairs.
She's great. You know, and a few years ago,
that sounds like a party.
Yeah, her son wasn't big on storms, and I totally get it. Then we just talked, and it was all about empowering kids when it comes to storms. That bolt of lightning, Cody, here it is right there.
Oh, what do you know?
So we're in Eden Prairie,
like right next to the station.
So you heard me say this earlier, a bolt from the blue. So the core of the storm, there's the core of the storm. And this isn't really convective in nature once you come back to the west. But here, between Delano and Minnetrister, boom. From Minnetonka all the way down to Shakopee, and that's Chanhassen, boom. And right where we are in Eden Prairie, I mean, I don't know if anyone saw me jump. I jumped.
I jumped too, 100%.
You're sitting.
I jumped when I was sitting.
How do you jump when you're sitting?
I don't know. My butt left the seat. How about that?
We're oversharing. There it is, outlined from downtown St. Paul through Inver Grove Heights in toward areas like Hudson, the Marine on the St. Croix, Stillwater, New Richmond, down toward River Falls. all of y'all are in these big rumbling storms. You see the severe thunderstorm when you get trimmed back there to 694. That happened live on the air. You end up, here I'm just going to move this for you so you can see. There's the severe thunderstorm warning. It is along 694 down toward Inver Grove Heights. It's basically following the Mississippi, and then it's here all areas off to the east, including River Falls and Hudson. Go ahead, Cody.
Your voice gonna make it?
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be a new day. How do you get the teapot going? Tea and honey is always bracing.
It is. Yeah, I'm actually just finally able to filter through some of my texts and getting some videos that we'll, I'm sure, share on the air tomorrow of just lightning and thunder and wind and rain and weird clouds and.
Yeah, the undulatus asperatus clouds.
That's my favorite cloud. You just said my favorite term.
You know what they're called, don't you?
Undulatus asperatus.
No, for slang, people call them the Jacques Cousteau clouds because it's like you're sitting on the bottom of the ocean and looking at the waves on the surface from below.
I never would have thought about that, but yeah, you're right. I like that.
Jacques Cousteau. Today we are investigating the poisson terrible.
And you just went French.
The shark. So there's the severe thunderstorm warning. That's in place until 2 o'clock, 31 minutes from now. My dad used to do that joke all the time. Back in the 70s, Jacques Cousteau was on the air on TV all the time. He had his own show.
What?
You weren't born.
True.
Jacques Cousteau, he's an underwater explorer, and he had his own show.
Okay.
And they'd always be exploring things and looking for the shark.
Okay.
Okay, so
I will trust you.
Woodbury in Washington County reports severe thunderstorm wind gust at 128 of 61 miles per hour.
There you go.
That should give you an idea why there's still a warning. So Inver Grove Heights, Woodbury, this entire region that has now been trimmed back from that warning, still with wind gusts at 40 to 60 plus miles per hour. And that's what we've been talking. So you'll notice earlier I used the term super convective. That's when you look at a storm and it's covered by lightning. It's so powerful. It's reaching into the super cooled air at 40, 50,000 feet. And it's so ultimately convective. Doesn't necessarily mean, by the way, a storm with lots of lightning doesn't always mean it's a severe storm on the ground. Sometimes we end up with ground-based storms, surface-based storms, which tonight were. Sometimes we end up what are called elevated storms. Those are those big rumblers that just sort of rumble over top of you. Sometimes you don't even get any rain. That's when people mistake a hot night, a sultry night where you get the big rumbles that roll for heat lightning. And as I mentioned earlier, this is my yearly reminder that there is absolutely no such thing as heat lightning. Thank you, Ed. There you go.
It's fake.
It's totally fake. You see the lightning either side of Hudson, the strong winds in and around Woodbury and Inver Grove Heights. Slide a little off to the north here. So once you get down into Hastings, into Goodhue County, you are generally clear for now. Coming out of Dakota County is this line. And remember, this is the line I was talking about earlier. It has now crossed I-35 into Northfield, rolling through Dundas in toward Faribault, and then bending all the way back to Waterville. Not severe, but very fast. It's anywhere between 7 to 10 miles wide. It'll roll in, give you a gust of wind, thunder, lightning, very heavy rain. It'll be done. Literally that fast. So that's off to the south of the metro, working along, and now to the east of I-35. There is the lone single severe thunderstorm warning that is in place until 2 p.m.
2 a.m.
2 a.m. It would be. If it was 2 p.m., that'd be bad.
That would be bad.
Look at Hastings. Not in the storm yet. It is coming your way in the next 15 minutes. St. Paul, the core of the storm has passed you, even the convective storm core. And you'll notice here from downtown Minneapolis all the way up to White Bear Lake, you see the storm starting to literally kind of pull apart here. So the core, the strongest portion of the storm is here where we see all of this deep red. And then once you head back toward downtown Minneapolis, notice there's not an awful lot going on.
It's just a lot of rain.
Yeah, these striations you see here, that's the Doppler beam. As there's such heavy rain here, the Doppler beam's trying to get through, and it's kind of going, because the Doppler beam Well, the Doppler
If it could talk.
has to go out and react to a particle and then scatter itself back to the Doppler site. That's how we know that there's something there. When there's this heavy a rain, it is really hard for that beam to get all the way through and all the way back. That is nothing severe. That is all about rain. Once you look to the West Metro, rain adding insult to injury with now 5 confirmed tornadoes in Carver County. Just a notorious night in Carver County tonight. We don't have any reports of damage. We don't have any reports of injuries. We have reports from Minnewaska Parkway that trees are completely blocking Highway 7. That should give you an idea of how strong the winds were. But here, head off on Highway 12 to Cokato and Ellsworth. You're almost out of the rain. From Buffalo Lake into Brownton, down to New Auburn and Gaylord and Sibley County, you're almost out of the rain. So the big picture view for you, the severe thunderstorm watch that does include the metro but will soon be trimmed, that is in place until 5 a.m. What did you say?
I was just talking to some folks in my ear.
You're mumbling to yourself.
I was mumbling.
So, look, this is about to be west central Wisconsin, central and north Wisconsin's storm. It doesn't mean it's going to stay severe. It means big rumbling rainers with occasional strong wind gusts at 50 to 60 miles per hour. That is all a part of the formula, if you will, for these storms to continue to work here. Off to the east, get that little lobe here running down I-35, also tracking off to the east, not severe. Anything back to the west, not severe. And this line of storms now collapsing across I-90 and working into areas along Highway 20 in northwest Iowa. Perfect name for this place, into areas like Storm Lake. So, for the greater Twin Cities metro, and a close-up for you now. This is all heavy rain from downtown St. Paul back to the west, but Pierce, St. Croix, and Washington counties, that's the severe thunderstorm warning. You see it here flashing in gold and black. That is in place until 2 a.m. And the latest report we have out of Woodbury is winds gusting at 61 miles per hour, a severe thunderstorm wind gust, anything 60 miles per hour and greater, severe. And boy, we nailed it right there, Code.
Yes, I 100% agree. I was actually just filtering because I'm finally able to take a little deep breath and filter through some of the stuff. And if you want to see some video, I'm going to do a bunch of retweeting if you're interested. I had a bunch of folks send me some stuff on Twitter, and honestly, I'm almost gobsmacked by how unbelievable the clouds looked as they kind of rolled across the Twin Cities metro over the last couple of hours.
Do you have these?
Yeah, so they're just via my Twitter feed. Unfortunately, we can't show them on air. But I will do some retweeting and some Facebooking and kind of get these out to the world if anyone has some interest, because I'm glad we were on the air. Like we go on the air, we have our own concerns, but there are times where it's like, should I be on the air? Do I need to cut into programming? Do I want to mess up someone's evening of watching TV or whatever they're doing? But it's good to get confirmation that this looked scary. I mean, warnings aside, it looked scary. And seeing some of this video is just kind of reaffirming that. Yeah,
and that's one of the reasons we have to be on the TV. And we realize, look, there have been many times over the years that we've had to interrupt programming that to some people is very, very important. But we don't interrupt programming for, some people will say, well, why are you on there? Because although the storms may not be strong where you live or at your house or at your home, they are strong somewhere in our viewing area, and those people deserve as much respect and coverage as anybody anywhere in our viewing area. And that's one of the reasons, Cody, I'm looking forward to seeing these on your Twitter feed. It gets hard for us in today's day and age to take anything straight from Twitter and put it on the air. Yes. First of all, we have to vet it. And secondly, we don't own that. Whoever posted it ostensibly owns that video, but if it's been retweeted 20 times and we just take it and put it on TV, we don't own that video. We don't know who owns it, and it's a bad place to be. So usually when we get things, we take the time to vet the video and make sure that it is something that the owner is credited with.
Yeah. I basically quote tweet them, so I'll reply, and then you'll see their original post and their original video, and so it's not me getting credit; it's someone else getting credit.
Man, that big boom we heard a little while ago here over top of the station.
Yeah,
that was 3 miles from the station.
That was actually 3 miles. It sounded like it was down the street.
Sounded like it hit your car in the parking lot.
It probably did.
Worst part about, not the worst part, the hardest part about driving is when you're coming in to do storm coverage and you're getting the reports and it's like, 2-inch size hail. Well, I've had 2 cars totaled while I've been on the air over my career from hail. So I'm driving here in my car going, I like this car.
I want to keep this one.
Oh, well, we got to get there. Notice the severe thunderstorm warning. It's just Pearson St. Croix until 2 a.m. That is going to expire before then. It is just this thin sliver. I think what we have here, Cody, is these storms are still big, booming rumblers.
Yes.
But they are not severe anymore.
Yeah, I think they're certainly winding things down. I'm not seeing anything on radar that would indicate that they're strengthening at any point.
Here's where it's beginning to pull apart. This is what I was talking about here.
100%.
There's the big picture view. Okay, how about, I'm comfortable pulling away. Are you comfortable?
I am comfortable pulling away.
Okay. Both of us are comfortable pulling away from our live coverage. There's that little thin sliver for Pearson St. Croix until 2 a.m., but that used to be a massive severe thunderstorm warning, and as it's trimmed back, nothing new has been added. The only thing I can tell you is this: stay sky aware tonight. As you live here in parts of north and north central and northwestern Wisconsin, as you live here along the Mississippi River Valley and into parts of southeastern Wisconsin, the storms are losing strength. That doesn't mean we can't see something pop up very quickly and become dangerous.
Can I have a little public service announcement real fast?
Yeah, I love it. Go for it.
So, admittedly, like we as meteorologists, as scientists, use different weather apps than most folks.
Sure.
I do actually use the Fox 9 weather app, and I love it because you turn GPS, go to your settings, turn your GPS location on, and then turn your notification on, and it doesn't matter wherever you are. Anywhere. If your geolocation gets hit with a warning of any kind, a tornado warning, severe thunderstorm warning, flash flood warning, it will alert you.
Even if your phone is in silent mode and sleep mode.
Yes.
Especially for a tornado warning, it lets go of a siren. If you're in Canada camping, if you're in California mountain biking, if you're down in Florida surfing, wherever you are, the Fox 9 weather app follows you on the phone. And if you were with us when the tornado warnings came out earlier, you would have heard it.
Yeah, it scared the bejesus out of me.
Well, there's hugs for everybody when we're finished. Listen, it is our honor and our absolute responsibility to be here and cover these storms, and we don't take it lightly. And we thank you for joining us as we walked you through the metro-based storms tonight. 5 reported tornadoes, all centered in Carver County. We were on the air and we pinpointed every single one of them. It is all about keeping you sky aware, but for my life, it's always been, what will you do for somebody else today? And this was it. This was me for today. This was Cody for today. For Hannah, who did such an amazing job directing. For Leif, who's one of our producers from the news shows Saturday Night, who stuck around. To Melissa, who did such a great job getting our online presence out there and the warnings and the severe weather coverage out into the internet world. There's so many unsung heroes who, there's a big wall here, who are on the other side of this wall, and I don't think they get enough praise. And that's my moment to give them some praise that I can. So from myself, Fox 9 Chief Meteorologist Ian Leonard, from meteorologist Cody Matz, and all of us here at Fox 9 Television tonight, thank you for trusting us with your severe weather coverage. And I say to you, good night and stay sky aware.
Slap a flim. The milk is now in that teat canal, and then you're just going to pull down, if I can get it.